Does anybody know where Brandon's at?
No, I haven't seen him.
No,
Where he
no.
is.
We were supposed to start the show like 30 minutes ago.
I know, dude. I'm trying to text him, but he hasn't responded yet.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Man,
Lost in
Corona.
that kitchen somewhere.
That
Corona.
Corona.
Some gloves on. You can stay safe in there.
Hello, I'm Brandon from the BA Test Kitchen. How are you doing?
Whoa!
Whoa, Brandon. Our host.
Doing today.
Doing well.
Welcome to Cinemania, everyone. This is where we discuss everything going on in films. This week, I think we're going to discuss a film that Sam recommended last week. It's actually his background right now. It
is.
Hokusai. I'm Brandon. I'm pointing at one of you.
All of our friends are out of order.
I'm Landon.
I'm Adam.
I'm Sam.
So, all right. Hi, everyone. So I think we're going to start like how we did last week, right? We're just going to do so how's everyone's week been in quarantine? Have you guys watched anything new or anything?
I've done a lot of rewatching lately. I rewatched Honey Boy.
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched 8th Grade. I rewatched Fighting with My Family. And I think I watched one more thing. But yeah, I got it on a coming of age story kick. With My Family, it's really cheesy, but it's still a really, really heartwarming movie. I stick by it. The ending makes me tear up, even though I have no connection to wrestling whatsoever. I used to watch it as a kid, but the ending still made me tear up. Honey Boy is still almost perfect.
Still need to see it.
I still have a problem with the last line of the movie.
What's the last line again?
I don't want to spoil it.
Well, because everyone's seen it this week.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it yet? Sam,
I literally just said I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's crazy.
No, I know. It's on Amazon. I'll probably do it tomorrow, but
Yeah, it's so good, man. It's so.
You think I can convince my friends to watch Honey Boy? Do you think I can do that?
Yeah, it's so good.
I convinced them to watch Train to Busan, and they don't like subtitled films, so I think anything's possible.
Just tell them it's about Even Stevens and Shia LaBeouf.
You know Shia LaBeouf? All right, he plays his dad.
Tell them about Transformers. Tell them it's Transformers. Because it technically is.
It's Transformers 6. Have they already made Transformers 6? I don't know where they're at in the
No, they're at 5.
No,
Five.
5. Then they made Bumblebee, and no one really cared.
Speaking of Transformers, guys, I watched the first Transformers again, right?
How'd that go?
And it's really, really good.
Actually.
Is it?
Okay, it's a great blockbuster, and compared to the rest of Transformers films, it's really well put together. It's very self-aware. It doesn't try to be anything that it's not. It's purely just so entertaining. And Shia LaBeouf is also it's still the point where he doesn't hate himself for being in these movies.
But
So,
isn't
huh?
Is Honey Boy during Transformers 1 or 2?
2, I think.
The filming? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel 2 was when shit really went downhill, or stuff really went downhill.
Definitely. Because all the rest of them are terrible, but the first one is actually a really solid blockbuster.
I've seen 1, 2, and 5, and I remember 1 being good and 2 being decent.
2's
racist.
terrible.
Well, this was 2012, so I thought it was okay.
They're all pretty racist. Ironheart. No, who is? Yeah, they're all racist films. The first one, Jazz, is they're making him the black Transformer, and they still find a way to kill the black person in the film. They kill Jazz at the end, the black Transformer, and Megatron rips him in half, and it's really you find a way to be racist in this film. It's just about robots. It's so offensive to me on so many levels.
No, in Transformers 2, the racism is wild. It's
Hey, kid, you want to watch SpongeBob be racist?
yeah, doesn't Tom Kenny do the voice?
Tom Kenny.
Isn't 2 the one that had the 2 robots?
Yeah, the racist.
Yeah. So it was the 2 robots. It's one of the robots.
They're supposed to be racist stereotypes.
Yeah.
And then in Transformers 3, don't they have an Asian stereotype or something like that?
So the 2 robots are back in Transformers 3.
Are they?
Yeah, they've been big. They're living with Sam in the beginning of the film. There's roommates.
No.
They were roommates.
There's a roommate.
And they were roommates.
Dude, is Transformers 2 the one that opens with the college?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That scene did something to me.
His mom eats edibles.
Yeah.
She's on the campus, in the grass, just laying down. high off her mind.
That's
The
what Michael Bay
Transformers
thinks guns
2
are?
is really bad, but there's some funny moments in it.
Oh, it's no, that scene's hilarious. Like and I feel like everyone kind of gives his parents gives his parents like a bad rap, but like they're funny at some parts, especially in that scene. They're really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this one off.
But yeah, what else have you guys been watching?
Yeah, Adam, what have you watched?
Well, okay, so most of my so far most of my quarantine has been like marathons and stuff. I started out with the marathon of Zoe Deutsch movies because two reasons. One, because I have a crush on her, and two, because I think she's a very talented actress.
Mm-hmm.
Then I marathoned all the James Bond movies, and then I did some racing movies. And so last week was supposed to be the first full week of the NHL playoffs, and since coronavirus has put a stop to literally pretty much everything, I decided to kind of fill that void because the hockey playoffs usually go from like mid-April to mid-June, and I'm waiting for this to load. I watched Red Army, which it's kind of a hockey documentary. It's also kind of a look at the fall of the Soviet Union through hockey and how their players started defecting to America and how like kind of the weakening of the Soviet Union through the weakening of the hockey team. And I watched Ice Guardians, which is probably either the best or the second best hockey movie I've seen.
Adam, have you talked about The Last Dance yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, talk about that. I'll be back.
I will. But so Ice Guardians is a look at the enforcer and how they played a role more in like the 70s, 80s of like being the guy that protects everyone, the guy that goes and fights everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And how that's kind of, that role isn't really there now, and how teams are using that to take advantage of the superstars and, give them a million concussions. But it's really interesting to see how like that role changed over time and how like it kind of goes into the psychology of it, which is really interesting. Making Coco, the Grant Fuhrer story, was a okay documentary about I've always been a fan of mostly goalies in hockey, aside from my team, which is the Blackhawks. And so this was interesting. It's a guy I didn't know about. He was like the first black superstar in hockey. He was the first prominent black player. He got inducted into the Hall of Fame. But my main two gripes is that one, it's called Making Coco, and Coco was his nickname, and maybe mention that in the movie at some point, like sometime, which they don't at all. And then my other gripe is that it feels very, very watered down. Like there's a part where they talk about his incident where he was alleged to have used cocaine throughout the season and failed drug tests. And they kind of take that section of the movie to go, it was the media over exaggerating stuff. And then they just kind of move on with his career. And it feels very like, we can't talk about this. Then I watched The Mighty Ducks, which feels like one of those movies where it's like, you haven't seen this yet. But it was a lot of fun. Emilio Estevez is pretty good in it. I'm probably going to watch the sequels at some point. I also realize I'm apparently kind of a sucker for early 90s comedies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Slapshot, which is the 1977 Paul Newman movie, which is, in baseball movie terms, it kind of pulls from Bull Durham and Major League, where you've got the minor league aspect and you've got the comedy aspect. It's pretty good. The Hanson brothers are hilarious, and Paul Newman's pretty good. It's odd to see him like throwing around curse word after curse word when that's not something you see Paul Newman do a lot in movies. I actually read that he said he cussed more in general, like in life, after doing that movie. But that one was pretty good. And then the last one I'll talk about is LA 92, which, Landon, you said you did not watch.
I have not watched it, even though it was an assignment for our documentary class. I have not watched it yet. Editing my documentary.
To paraphrase, I guess, my review on Letterboxd, it was LA 92 is a National Geographic documentary from a few years ago about the 1992 riots in Los Angeles after the verdict was handed down of not guilty to all the officers that beat Rodney King, which I've only seen like short clips of the beating, like whether it's like a TV show or movie or whatever. I've never seen like the extended clips, which are incredibly hard to watch. And I also had no idea how intense and destructive those riots were. Like, I mean, there's like really up close, in person clips of like buildings on fire and explosions and rioters pulling people out of their cars and beating them almost to death. It's up there with probably one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Don't they not? They don't use any like interviews, correct? It's
All archival.
like footage from the incident.
Yep, all archival footage, interviews, conferences, that kind of stuff.
Is there narration?
No.
Wow.
Oh, and then the last thing was that The Last Dance premiered last night. Brandon, you watched it too?
Yeah, I did.
It's the ESPN.
Angie and I watched it, and when she saw Jerry Krause for the first time, she was like, "Why is that man built like that? He looks like Shrek.
He does.
He looks like Shrek."
10-part ESPN documentary on the Chicago Bulls 1997-98 championship season. Michael Jordan's final season, correct?
Mm-hmm. Other than the Wizards.
And they talked to pretty much everyone that had some sort of connection with the team, and they're just kind of making their way through their season in Michael Jordan's history. It's really interesting. I'm excited for next week in parts 3 and 4.
Yeah, my thing with it was that we're only 2 episodes in at this point, but I really am looking forward to how they get into like Michael Jordan as the figurehead of like basketball and really athletics for the United States. Because one thing I feel they didn't like kind of nail in on too hard at this point was how famous Michael Jordan really was.
Yeah.
And like how he couldn't leave his hotel room, and that because people would literally just look at him and they'd hound him.
Yeah.
And because that resulted in like a lot of loneliness, and that resulted in him like kind of becoming really depressed. Because throughout the majority of his career, he was so depressed and so angry because he resented basketball because it made him this person who could not leave his house. He's such an interesting character. That's why I'm really looking forward to like, because I know there's gonna be one day, but like a film about Michael Jordan's life.
Yeah.
Because like his childhood's really interesting with his brothers and his father being this like his father's a really interesting person all from like beginning to end of his life. But he's like Michael Jordan's so interesting, like how. Because we're going to talk about Miss Hokusai, which I was thinking about it while watching The Last Dance. It's two very different kind of like things, but how basketball is kind of Michael Jordan's art and how he commits himself so hard to it. But like listening to like his kids, not in The Last Dance, but I'm sure we'll be in later, but listening to his kids talk about how MJ treated him and them, how he hardly talked to them, how he neglected them for a really long time, and how basketball was his passion for like it still is to a certain extent. But he's kind of been. Also, it's a really interesting companion piece to like the Social Network because how basketball and like money has changed Michael Jordan, kind of turned him into something like much larger than life and much larger than the average human being. Like he's like so a lot of people in Chicago, Michael Jordan's a god. Like it might seem ridiculous to a lot of people, but he's an actual like god.
No, he is. Larry Bird said he was God disguised as Michael Jordan. So
like watching, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they do a really good job of building up like the tension and stuff. Like the first 2 episodes left off on the cliffhanger of Scottie Pippen and being Michael Jordan's number 2 and would he get traded? And I can kind of see where they were coming from. I saw Shea Serrano tweeted right after it was over. He was like, I sat there for like 5 seconds. Was like, gee, I hope they don't trade Scottie Pippen. And they do such a good job of building up everything, building up these relationships.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of jealous of like Angie or anyone who doesn't really know anything about the Bulls or anything about like sports or anything, because it's such an interesting story. Removed from any of like the basketball or anything, it's so interesting. There's so many interesting characters, so much like plot twists and everything.
Yeah,
and it's very akin to like a film about like I don't know like medieval knights or anything about people who are in a struggle for power. Because Jerry Krause is very much like the villain of it. He's so complex. Like they even talk about him like and his growing up and like. How he was always like the little guy. He has this kind of Napoleon complex where he feels like he needs to. If there's anybody who kind of like shows him any disrespect or anything, he feels the need to kind of get rid of them. But when you're Michael Jordan, the biggest personality in the world at that point in time, you can't just do that. And if you try to, it results in a lot of people resenting you and hating you.
Yeah,
and I felt that was really interesting.
It's really fun to see like these clips and Jordan and Pippen walking past him, like making comments and stuff, and you see how much they hate him.
they're so mean to Jerry Krause. Like the comment about the diet pills, I was like, my mouth, like my jaw literally dropped. Like I was like, oh my god, he's such an asshole. He's such a PP.
It's fine.
Yeah, he's such a doo-doo head. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because one of the things MJ said in like leading up to the documentary was like, I'm really not looking forward to how this documentary makes people like think of me. Because this is like, this footage has, for you guys, like the footage has never been seen before, like in history. It was taken firsthand during the entire season and it was locked away for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that was a contract they signed. It said, all right, you can never see this footage until 20 years after.
What's the footage of?
It's just them practicing and them like leading up to games and Michael Jordan just like being a rich, not good person. And like, it's just the entire season, them behind the scenes. And it's so revealing and it's so interesting how like the dynamics between him and the coach Phil Jackson and his sidekick Scottie Pippen. And there's such like, I really recommend you guys watch it. Even though I know you guys don't like basketball, I recommend
I'm genuinely interested.
So fascinating.
I was about to say, I'm genuinely interested though. Just the way you're talking about it, kind of reminds me of, not like directly, but it reminds me of something like Hoop Dreams, where Hoop Dreams is like it's about basketball, but really it's the drama of like two people trying to achieve their dreams and everything in life hindering them from doing that and seeing these systems and everything. You know, it's about so much more because that's what sports is. Sports isn't just the game; it's the people playing the game, right?
That's what they say throughout the documentary. Like honestly, I wouldn't even call this a documentary about basketball. I would call it a documentary about 12 people on a team that is a sports team, but it's 12 people on a team and their relationship along with like the president of basketball, Phil Jackson, and coach Phil Jackson, and like the GM. And it's about the relationships and everything. It's not even about sports. Like, am I right? I don't even think this is about basketball really.
Yeah, it does a really good job of exploring like the relationships and like not just, hey, Jordan did this, Jordan did that. It is that because it's very much centered on him.
It's a piece of the story.
Yeah, but it's also talking about like, what like it goes into their backstories and not just like how they got into basketball. It's like, Scottie Pippen's dad was like had a stroke and was confined to a wheelchair, and his brother was paralyzed during like a high school football game or something. And just kind of exploring that and, why they did what they did during that point in this point in the season. Like Scottie Pippen was like, I hate management, so I'm not going to have surgery on my foot. I'm going to enjoy my summer and then I'll have it. Then I'll have the surgery. But it does such a good job exploring everything. And I'm looking forward to seeing if they go deeper into like some of the other players.
Oh, they're going to, and I can already tell at this point, they're going to kind of like get into that player-owner dynamic where it's like, you're as a player, you're owned by this person who's probably, as a black man, you're owned by this person, by this white man who is telling you, all right, I need you to be here in the city for 7 years and play for me exclusively and do whatever I tell you to do.
Yes, that contract was so depressing.
It's so like because Phil Jackson said it, Scottie Pippen was worth way more than that contract was. And looking at it now, like when players like LeBron or something are making $100 million a year, Scottie Pippen was making pennies compared to that.
Yeah, like he was.
How much was he making?
So the contract, so in comparison, LeBron's is like, I think 5 years and like $275 million?
Probably.
Something like that. Scottie Pippen's was 7 years and $18 million.
Jesus.
We're talking, he was, I think they said the 122nd ranked paid player by salary in the league, and he was top 10 players in the league.
He was top 5 player in the game.
Yeah.
In the late 90s. He was top 5 player. And he was making like $1.5 million, like $1.5 million, maybe like
something like that. Yeah.
$1 million a year. And
won 5 titles, or 6 after 98, but 5 up to that point.
5 titles. It was, and it's like you could see, and the way he was treated by management too. Honestly, like I can honestly see why it's kind of like we haven't seen what Scottie Pippen said to Jerry Krause or anything like that, but like from what we've heard, it's kind of like I can see why.
Publicly cursing him out and insulting him in front of everyone. Yeah.
I have a quick question about this. This is like the most important question regarding the docuseries. What episode will it be when they get to Space Jam?
I'm saying.
Timeline-wise, it already happened 2 years
Well,
before.
they're going back and forth, so they're probably going to talk about it at some point. Honestly.
Okay, cool.
They're probably gonna talk
It's probably going to show just how big Michael Jordan was. Is like, you want to know how big he was? He was in a movie with Bugs Bunny. Top billing with Bugs Bunny. You know, Shaq didn't even have that.
Shaq had
Made a robot.
Kazam.
Steel.
He had Steel. He had no. It's Kazam.
Kazam, yeah.
Yeah, Kazam. Please get it right.
I said Kazam. I
I
think.
said Shazam. That's my bad. That's on me.
But this stuff is very, very interesting, though, honestly. I probably will check it out. I don't know if I'm going to check it out. I feel like I should check it out after they get all the episodes out.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Because aren't they only releasing like 2 episodes a week or something like
Yeah,
that?
there's 10, yeah.
Yeah, I know they're releasing the episodes on Netflix the day after, but that's everywhere except the U.S. So
Oh man, I almost got excited.
it's just nice, like, I mean, as a sports fan or a non-sports fan, but especially as a sports fan, not having, like, the NBA Finals would have started, I think, Saturday.
Yeah.
Or the finals would have started
It's totally
Saturday. Having this to kind of have some semblance of sports, like something new every week is really nice.
That's cool and interesting.
Yeah, watch The Last Dance, everyone.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it one day over the rainbow. I was gonna bring up, speaking of Netflix shows, I started watching a show called Too Hot to Handle on Netflix.
What is this?
It's a reality show. It's a reality
no.
show on Netflix.
Oh no!
I don't know how to describe this without using certain words that we can't use.
Is it about really hot people?
It's about really hot people that can't have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that they kiss or touch each other, they lose $3,000. And they have a $100,000 prize pool. And I'm on episode 3, and it's the 3rd day. And guess how much money they've lost?
$27,000.
You are correct, Adam.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they've lost that much money.
I didn't know.
It's a fascinating show. It's a fascinating show.
2 days ago, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's a fascinating show
Watching it.
because, like, it's actually, like, you might be like, oh, it's just like a regular reality show, like all these
It sounds trashy.
shallow, hot people on an island. But there's like this twist to it where all of the challenges that they participate in have to deal with the idea of relationships and not being shallow and only thinking about sex. So the whole point of the show basically is they pick the most shallow and sensitive people to be on the show that are, they're not great people. They only think about sex. They only see the opposite sex as an object. And they chose all of these people for a reason, because the main goal of the reality show is to show that there are more to people than just being an object for sex. And like, I'm only 3 episodes in, and it hasn't been really working so far. But
They're trying.
they're like the certain like activities that they've had to participate in. Basically, they're getting free like relationship therapy through this. Like, a lot of the activities that they have to participate are like relationship therapy. They're like, all right, you guys are going to spend 5 minutes just staring at each other and like into your soul, into like their soul. It's called soul gazing, basically. And you're not going to touch them. You're just going to look at them for 5 minutes. Just look at each other. And like, it was kind of beautiful, honestly, because like there were certain people that started to tear up. And I think this show, it is trashy, but I think there is a good meaning to it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like Love Island where they just like pit these people against each other.
That's what I thought it was similar to.
Huh?
That's what I thought it was similar to. I thought it was like a Love Island Bachelorette kind of thing.
It's not. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think that these people are actually going to learn something from it, because like, I think that it does have a soul. Like, a lot of reality shows are like very soulless, but this has a soul and it has a purpose to what it is doing. If you know what I mean.
So when does it end? Like, how is there a winner at all in the series?
So yeah, they vote. They don't vote people off. There's this like there's the cameras basically are its own character, because the cameras is very voyeuristic and it's kind of weird. The cameras are like classified as this character called Lana, who if people just keep breaking the rules, Lana just kicks you off the show basically. So the cameras are always like monitoring these people to see if they're going to break the rules.
Okay.
I don't know if I can say this. I'll bleep it out if I can't. The people can't masturbate either. So that's a weird like thing in the show as well. So
No fab.
watching, they don't really show anything inappropriate. They'll just be like, the camera's caught this on video or something like that. They'll be like, all right, so they're deducting $3,000 from the pool because they did this. So it's kind of like all these people have to work together as well, because $100,000 prize pool that is split between all of these people.
Wow.
And like they're already down to 70,000. So, and there's 10 people. 73,000. And I think it's a very interesting show, and I'm excited to watch more of it because it's very intriguing to me. But we'll see how it actually turns out.
Nice.
Right now, it's still kind of trashy television, but there are moments in there where it's just like, okay, like I see what you guys are going for. But yeah.
Well, what have you been watching?
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of Netflix shows, it's a show on Netflix, but not made by Netflix. I'm still watching Better Call Saul. I'm on season 2, episode 5 now. And the thing I keep saying is, it's incredible how basically Vince Gilligan and the whole, I'm assuming it's most of the same people from Breaking Bad, took everything they learned from that show and were able to just hit the ground running to make Better Call Saul an immediately better show. And what I appreciate about Better Call Saul is how like I appreciate how it takes its time. Like, it's a show that's in no hurry to get to wherever it's trying to get to. We're like, at the end of season 1 of Breaking Bad, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember the exact details, but I'm pretty sure of like, at the end of season 1 of Breaking Bad, like they're in the drug game. Like there's been explosions. There's been all this craziness happening. The end of season 1 is just a character reveal that one person doesn't like another person. And it's huge. Like, it's major, And I think the characters are so good in Better Call Saul, and the relationships are so well defined. I don't know. It's just such an incredibly engaging show without wasting any time, even though it does take its time. I never feel, because I think my issue with some modern shows is I'm afraid a lot of them are like including more storylines or including things in them that don't really need to be there. Like, I think a lot of Netflix shows sometimes like will include extra characters or extra plots that are just so like unnecessary. That just
Stranger Things is a prime example of that.
Well, I think about something like Ozark. Like, the first season of Ozark was really great, but there are just times where I was like, okay, I don't really care too much about these side characters. I want to focus on Jason Bateman and what he's going through. It just felt like generic dark television sometimes. But I think Better Call Saul does a great job of that, because there's such well-rounded characters that, like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's just, again, I think they're just taking everything they learned from making Breaking Bad for 7 or 8 years, however long they worked on it, and just making an incredibly engaging, character-driven show that so far I am completely in love with, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. I started watching Better Call Saul when it first came out. I mean, I was like younger when it first came out, but my main problem with it was very slow, and I couldn't get to it.
I was gonna say that's exactly what happened to me. Was I watched it when I was still at home, like I wasn't in college yet when the first season came on, and I was like, "This is good, I guess," but like nothing's happening,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess now that I'm older, maybe I can appreciate it more. I don't know. It works for me so much more. I feel like I'm paying way more attention to the details and to like Bob Odenkirk is an incredible actor. He is so great in the show. The woman playing Kim Wexler, I don't know her name, but she's good. Chuck, who's Saul's brother, he's so good. Mike, they're all just incredible characters that are so well-rounded. I also think this show does a great job of like connecting to Breaking Bad, but not in a way that you need to have
It's
seen.
like is it like fan servicey at all? Because that was another problem. There's like a moment in season 1 that I thought was kind of fan servicey.
Is it the one involving Tuco?
Yeah, and I didn't think
Yeah.
it really like helped the plot forward.
Well, I'll just say that in season 2, Tuco's still around.
Hmm.
Like he's like they didn't just like pop him in. All right, here's your Tuco fan service. All right,
That's
we're
when I
out.
stopped watching it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not in the first episode, is it?
That's the first episode. That's the end of the first episode.
Yeah, I think I
Is-
got like to episode 3, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I really vibe with this.
See, because what they do that I think is so smart is they like Tuco is still a part of it, but it's focusing more on like characters that are within his circle.
Mhm.
So he still comes back, but it makes sense because it's still affecting the rest of the Breaking Bad world or the Better Call Saul world. You know, it's not just like, hey guys, it's Tuco again. He's being crazy. Whoa! It's like, well, no, he's connected to this character that has a reason to be around Tuco, and like, you know, I don't know. I think it does a really good job of incorporating this. I mean, like so far, like Hank hasn't shown up, Jesse hasn't shown up, like no really major characters from Breaking Bad have shown up, which I really appreciate. That could change at any moment, but
I have a question regarding like I remember in the first season they dealt with like flash forwards instead of flashbacks, where like they would flash forward to Saul after Breaking Bad thing and like how he had to relocate. Does that continue throughout the entirety of the show?
so far it only happens at the beginning of each season. The beginning of season 1 has that black and white like footage, the flash forward.
Which I think is very, very aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
Show how his world has become unsaturated and just kind of lifeless through the black and white aesthetic, which I thought was really, really interesting. And that's what I wanted, because like I love Saul as a character and I want to see what he's up to. Does like the information that they give get more interesting regarding his future?
Well. So the beginning of season 1 has that scene that you know. And the
Mhm.
beginning of season 2, like, picks up almost right after the end of that scene, and then
Mhm.
follows him for like 2 or 3 more hours, and it's over. Like, you're not getting a lot of details about his life, but you're getting details of like where he's at.
Mhm.
You know, it's not necessarily like, hey, here's everything that happened to Saul after Breaking Bad. It's like, here's where he is emotionally and where he is in his life. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to spoil it, but the beginning of season 2 has like one of those flashbacks, and it's very like, it is at once very basic and very like uninformative, like narratively, but it is a great way to show like where he is in comparison to where he is in the show. Where in the show, you know, it's like 2002, 2003, like it's still early on, before this events of Breaking Bad. What's really fascinating, they always have that in the back of your head. Like, all right, here's where he ends up. How is he getting there? That's what the whole show is, I think.
Yeah, we know Vince Gilligan plans out almost everything that he does. Do you think he has a plan for that in general? The whole like flash forward idea that
I think he definitely has an idea. My fear is that like, I hope he hasn't planned it out too much, because as we've seen with shows like How I Met Your Mother or just any other shows, where like, hey, we know the ending, you know.
Mhm.
And the problem you get into is people don't want to change from that. People don't want to take how the show has naturally grown and evolve it, which is why the ending of Breaking Bad works so well. Because I'm pretty sure Vince Gilligan had an idea of like,
Jesse was supposed to die in the first season of Breaking Bad.
right. I remember hearing that, and it's like, you know, imagine if Jesse wasn't in Breaking Bad, you would get rid of one of the strongest characters in that show.
The strongest character, honestly.
Yeah,
He's like the backbone of that show.
that's true. He's definitely the emotional backbone, as like Walt lowers himself, you know.
Yeah.
And I think like, so I of course I have total faith in Vince Gilligan in this show, and I have faith in the fact that I haven't heard a single bad thing about Better Call Saul
Mhm.
since I stopped watching and not picking back up. But I think he does have a plan. I think he knows where he wants to end up, but I'm confident that he is willing to change things around and like evolve it if need be.
Yeah.
But yeah, as of right now, I'm completely in love with the show and just like, it's a 40-minute long episode, and every time it just flies by. The credits roll. I'm like, oh wow, okay, I didn't realize we were at the end now. Okay, like I could like if this is like a 3-hour epic, I'd watch it.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna like start watching it soon because like I don't really have anything to do anymore, so might as well do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a chance, I'll talk about it.
Yeah, because I'd love to like catch up on it, like because aren't they on like season 4, 5?
There's 4 seasons on Netflix. I think there's 5 seasons total, though. I think.
Do you know how long it's supposed to go for?
I have no idea. I think the end's coming soon, though. I could be completely wrong. I feel like they're ending it soon.
I don't think that it should go longer than Breaking Bad.
I don't think it will. I mean, that's one thing I loved about Breaking Bad was that like it was kept building and building and building. Then when they got to like season 4, which is arguably one of the best seasons, they were like, okay, we're gonna start ending it now. We're gonna start ramping it down. Like, I really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. My hot take for Breaking Bad is I don't think season 5 was that great.
The problem with season 5 is that's the build up to season 6.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of filler, it's a lot of like exposition almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's getting you to season 6.
Yeah.
You can have that great payoff, but you're still spending 12 episodes doing almost
nothing. Is season 4 the one that ends with, or is that season 5? Which one is the one that ends with Gus being blown up?
That's 4.
That's season 4. Yeah, I think season 4, I think they could have built upon that better. Season 5, but they didn't really do that much. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think you're totally right. I think that would have been a better direction to go, but it's like, again, they needed to, not to excuse it, but just like, I think the problem they were in was like, okay, because season 5 was a half season. They had like 2 half seasons to wrap everything up. And they were like, all right, we'll make it work, So season 4, like the end of it's kind of inconsequential. Well, except for the fact that he poisons the kid, but
Yeah, I think that like final shot in season 4 is so powerful, and they kind of talk about it a bit in El Camino. I don't want to spoil anything for El.
Which El Camino is pretty good. I like El Camino.
El Camino's okay, but it wasn't necessary. That's my big thing with El Camino.
It's not necessary, but like I'm not upset it exists. Like it's basically a really good extended Breaking Bad episode.
Because I think the ending of Breaking Bad is actually perfect. That shot of Jesse, like driving into
Need for Speed.
Send off. It's a perfect send off for Jesse.
Yeah.
And I don't think we needed to know what he does after that. But it was like nice. It's like catching up with like a very, very old friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It's like just catching up with them kind of thing. And I understand why people love it, but I wasn't blown away by it. I think it's good. I don't think
it's solid.
I still need to watch Breaking Bad. Like, I remember seeing a low-quality rip of the pilot on YouTube, like, in 2014, and then I never...
You're like, wow!
So, and then I remember, I think, seeing the first episode of Better Call Saul in, like, 2015, because there was nothing on. And that's it. Like, I think all of it's on Netflix right now, so I should probably watch that soon.
All Breaking Bad's on there. Most of Better Call Saul's on there.
I've seen Breaking Bad. I'm not as in love with it as everyone else is. I think it's great. I think it's pretty much perfect. A lot of it's perfect. But I should never, because I watched it on Netflix and I took long breaks between it. I don't know. It's never something that grabbed me. I don't really know why.
I tried rewatching it recently, and it was like, I admittedly made it to like halfway through the 3rd season, but it wasn't as good as I remember it being. And I think a big part of it is just it being weirdly dated. I don't know. I think
there are some weird things in it that you're like, I don't know. Like there's certain there's certain CGI in the show. If you like I love, it's one of my favorite episodes, The Fly. Directed by Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that's a perfect episode of television. Except one moment, The Fly, like that they use in it, the CGI just hasn't aged well in general, I think. But that episode is actually, like, a lot of people hate that episode. It's a bottle episode.
Great episode.
Yeah, it only takes place in one room. But I know we've been talking about Breaking Bad a lot. We probably need to move forward. But I think that episode's so perfect because it's basically Walt kind of having to be with himself for so long, and like him contemplating all the actions that he's done, and like it's kind of like that build up, and it's I think it's a perfect episode of television.
Incredible episode. The only thing that tops it in Breaking Bad is the other episode that Ryan Johnson made.
What's it called? Ozymandias?
Ozymandias, which is I'm pretty sure it's the penultimate episode, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, which I mean has the incredible reveal at the beginning, which like I don't know, man. The fact that you have to like, okay, I'll stop Breaking Bad so much. But Better Call Saul is great. In terms of movies, I watched The Matrix again because I found out one of my computer coding friends has never seen it, so I watched The Matrix. Holds up better than I thought. It's still pretty fun. It reminded me how much the Wachowskis are so into like very genuine cheesiness. Like literally like at the end of the film, Neo is brought back to life by a kiss. Like, you know, it's kind of goofy, but it's very like
it's a fairy tale. It's like a legit fairy tale. The Matrix that as a fairy tale.
You know who else is brought back to life by a kiss at the end of the movie?
Who?
Kylo Ren in The Rise of Skywalker.
Like poetry, it rhymes.
It rhymes. The Wachowskis, J.J. Abrams, same person, basically.
Same person. But also, I think people have already talked about this, but it's fascinating. Like, now the Wachowskis they've both come out as trans. They're both women. It's fascinating to watch The Matrix and see it as like a trans narrative, like a metaphor for being trans. Like, it's literally about a person who feels uncomfortable in their own skin in the world, and then being told that there is another like version of humans, or like another like reality that they can exist in, and then they become more powerful and discover their specialness once they are like immersed in this reality. And no matter how tough it is, they still embrace it.
I should probably rewatch it with that idea, because I've never really thought about it that way.
Logic?
Huh?
What was your question? I'm sorry.
I was just saying I should probably rewatch it with that whole idea in mind, because I've never really like seen it that way. But now that you bring it up, I think it would be a very interesting watch.
And well, I was gonna say there's literally a scene near the end where like there's the big fight with Agent Smith, and Agent Smith keeps calling him Mr. Anderson. He goes, "My name is Neo. You know, like this is my new name. This is my new identity." You know, like it feels very coded, and I think people didn't really notice it until the Wachowskis came out as trans, and it's like, okay, now we can definitely see this influence in there, no matter, you know, whether it was intentional or not. It's still there, I feel like. But it's still incredible. It also made me realize that Keanu Reeves has been in 3 of the most important action films ever made. Like, he's in Speed. He's in The Matrix, and he's in John Wick. Like, literally 3 movies that define the next 5 years of action films.
Oh, you forgot Point Break.
There is Point Break, though. Like honestly, like
yes, no, yeah.
There's 4. There's 4 movies. Like, it's insane. Like
Bill and Ted. Did you see that interview clip?
Yeah.
Oh, he's like, I play Bill. I play Ted.
I played Ted.
The guy's like, oh my god.
That's such like Keanu Reeves in that moment is just so cool about it. He's not like he's like a dad. Do you know what I mean? He's like a dad in that moment. He's not like screw you for messing up.
I know it's a light jab. It's a light jab, you know.
Oh, and just the way that the interviewer like walks off the set. It's so
really funny. Have you like seen any of his other interviews or listened to his like podcasts or anything?
Yeah. He doesn't do like a lot of. He's like a really good interviewer though.
He is. Josh Horowitz.
Yeah, he's really really great. But that interview clip is actually fantastic. It brought a lot of joy to my life for like 3 seconds.
Also, Sam, you forgot Knock Knock. The film with Ana de Armas and another woman, and they like tie Keanu Reeves to a chair and like, have sex with him, and then like
they blackmail him.
They
bury him in a hole in the backyard.
Call him, yeah.
And they upload all the photos to Facebook.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Have you seen it, Sam?
No, I've seen clips.
Oh.
Don't ask about it. Don't worry about it.
Sam, it's funny that you brought up the going back some. It's funny that you brought up the Matrix a little bit earlier though, because I'm in a literature theory class or literary theory class that I don't understand at all because that's not my thing. But we're
Wait,
talking.
is it intro to literary theory?
Yeah,
Who's teaching it?
David Columbia.
Never mind. I had a really great intro to literary theory teacher, so I was excited. Sorry.
We're talking about how like the Wachowskis were influenced by some literary theorist or something. I couldn't tell you any more than that. But that is one that I'd need to rewatch at some point, just because I think the only time I watched it, I was hopped up on painkillers after having my wisdom teeth out, and I remember nothing.
The first time I watched it, I was. Wait, can I swear really quick? Can you bleep it out?
Yeah, go for it.
I was like, yo, the first time I watched Matrix, I was fucking zooted. I was, oh my god.
Ask our radio head if he cares if we curse. I don't think it really matters anymore. So
Well, I was gonna say the last time I watched The Matrix, I was in like elementary or middle school. Like it's probably been 10 years since I last saw The Matrix, right? And watching it now, I was like, this is still good. Like this is still a solid movie, and the action scenes are really well done. Like it's crazy.
Speaking of being zooted while watching a movie, I remember when I got my wisdom teeth taken out. I watched Dumbo the day after I got
Like are we talking Tim Burton or are we talking original?
the original
Original, okay.
film on Netflix. I watched it and I just had my wisdom teeth taken out. I was all hopped up on drugs, and I just remember having the time of my life. I remember my sister walking in being like, Landon, are you okay? Because I was just I was completely gone. But watching Dumbo zooted off your mind.
No, Adam's just like, nah, man, you're not more zooted than me. I was in the Matrix, bro. I was in
Oh, do they take in the Matrix to get to the Matrix? Is it the red pill?
It's the red pill.
Yeah. He took the red pill, bro.
You got red pill, all right?
I am the red pill, okay?
The red pill.
wait, you said that was the new Dumbo or the old one?
It was the old one, the original, animated.
When I
remember bawling. I remember bawling my eyes out when Dumbo goes up to the carrier with his mom, because my mom drove me to get
to the dentist
out and then drove me back home. I remember bawling my eyes out when I got home and watched that scene because my mom loves me so much.
Dude, okay, slight tangent. When I got my wisdom teeth taken out, I just spent a week watching stuff on Netflix. I finished Russian Doll while high on paid meds. So I don't remember the last 3 episodes. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what happens. I started The Good Place. I tried watching Black Panther and Infinity War, and I fell asleep in both of them. I would start them.
Both very boring movies.
Black Panther isn't boring, but Infinity War is literally Infinity War is not a movie. Infinity War is literally an excuse. Infinity War is an excuse for Endgame to exist. So I tried to watch it wholeheartedly. I was I'm ready. Let's go. I haven't seen it in a year. I gave up 30 minutes in. I was falling asleep. Black Panther, I was watching. I'm yeah, this is great. I dozed off. I woke up at the end when they're on the train. I was I guess I watched it. All right.
The only other movie I know
best Marvel movie
was Jurassic Park. I know there's others, but that and The Matrix are the only two I remember.
Watching Zooted off your happy 420, everybody. By the way,
honestly, happy 420. And the last thing I'll mention, so we can move on, is this isn't movie related, but it is a cinematic experience. I bought Spider-Man for the PS4 because it was on sale, and I spent it was Sunday, it was Saturday. I basically spent 8 hours just playing that game, not moving from my chair, just playing. And it's been a while since the game has engaged me that much. It's
really?
Kind of insane. I'm 50% of the way through the game, if the title screen's to be believed.
You say 50 or 15?
50, like 50.
That also like counts like side quests and things. So you might be farther along than you think.
That was one thing I was going to mention is like normally in games with collectibles, I'm like, I don't care. I just want the story. I'll do whatever. But the way Spider-Man introduces them is incredible because it's like you do a story mission and it's like, hey, Black Cat has set up all this stuff around the city. Why don't you go check it out? And then the next story mission, it's like, oh, hey, here's another thing. Like it's building on top of itself.
Yeah.
But
Like I forget what they're called, but it's like basically like when Kingpin's people or like whoever's people like take over certain
the bases.
the bases. Yeah. Like those are they're so fun to just like figure out how to take those like this is going to be a weird comparison, but the Spider-Man game reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5.
I see that. I see that.
How you can go about things. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is much more open about how you can go about things, but Spider-Man definitely kind of has that same energy where you will like stumble upon a base and you'll be like, okay, how am I going to do this? Like, it's like problem solving at its finest, I think.
Yeah.
Also, sorry.
No, Brandon, go, please.
That opening scene too is like incredible. It's so seamless how it
With
translates
this?
like the cutscene, the gameplay. It's so
Yeah, with
seamless. I've
Spider-Man.
never seen anything like it, honestly, how it's so seamless.
Well, in terms of the story, what I love, it's such a minor thing, and it probably like I don't know how intentional it is, but I love how interconnected his like personal life is with like being Spider-Man.
That all, I don't want to spoil anything, but it all pays off. Like,
So, because like
they're super emotional.
just like one of my favorite like moments in the game is just like I'll complete a story like I completed the Mr. Negative like initial reveal like fighting on the construction site thing. And like the helicopter crashes, and immediately Peter is like, "Oh, I forgot to get dinner with Aunt May." You know, like it's just little things like that that are just like I don't know. The game does such a great job of like integrating it all together and like making it all mix seamlessly. Like it just
Have you played The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the game?
no, but I know about it. I've played Spider-Man 2, like
The
Yeah,
game.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I have
Okay,
not.
so but here's one thing I feel like it does a little bit better than Spider-Man. So I feel like okay, so how you can play as Peter Parker, like you actually get to go through like Aunt May's house and like converse with Aunt May. And I feel like that part of the gameplay, because I feel like I was hoping for Spider-Man, it would be more along the lines of you kind of roam the city as Peter Parker and complete quests as him, complete missions as him. But it kind of just had, you can go to Doc Ock's laboratory or go to the Feast Center as Peter Parker. Without, you can't leave as Peter Parker. You have to leave as Spider-Man, which I was kind of like annoyed by.
I kind of love walking down the street as Spider-Man, though.
Yeah, but I want to
Right,
walk down the street
right.
as like Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's so pleasing to me, I feel like.
I mean, nothing's gonna beat the Spider-Man 2 missions where you deliver pizza. as Spider-Man,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like nothing's gonna beat that. Also, the fact that they have like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man costume in this Spider-Man, like, that's all I'm doing. I'm just playing as that. Like I'm set.
So that's the
I'd say
correct one.
the costumes in the Spider-Man game are like fantastic.
It's so good.
Bad costume in that
What's
game.
your favorite one, guys?
I there's one that you unlock. I don't want to spoil it. It's like it has to, there's a costume that you unlock at the end of the game. That's
Is it the bag one?
huh?
The bag one?
No, not
There's a bag over his head.
no.
Fantastic Four.
It's the one that he wears in the final battle.
Oh yeah.
I love that suit. I think that suit is one of the best Spider-Man suits I've ever seen.
I'm excited, dude. I can't wait. I'm just so engaged. Like I'm just so like literally all I'm thinking about right now is like when we're gonna be done so I can play Spider-Man. Like I was literally playing it, and then I saw that it was almost 8, and I was like, I have to stop playing. Like gosh, this sucks. I have to go meet with my friends.
It's such a fun. It's just the web sling. Like, do you know how like in God of War the whole appeal of the game is the axe, like bringing the axe back to you. You feel that power of just like bringing it back to you. And like they capture that same kind of feeling every time you like whip a web and connect to a building. It's that same kind of like feeling that's kind of like, it's really powerful. Like
Incredible.
how they like handle that kind of stuff. Cause I think like, I don't want to get on like too much of a tangent about video games, but like video games, I think kind of one up movies on a certain aspect about just how they can immerse players. And like when video games do it really well, they can do it better than movies. Like certain examples I have are like The Last of Us, God of War, and like Spider-Man. I think the Spider-Man game is one of the best Spider-Man stories ever told. And it's because you are so immersed in the world just through game design, just the like feeling of the controller in your hands when you thwip every single time, and like it's a rhythm, it's an experience, it's everything that it makes you like. This is like a meme at this point, but it makes you feel like Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
That's what I've been thinking this whole time I'm playing is like how do I describe this without like saying that?
Yeah.
Like how do I do that? Like it's
Like
impossible.
I think the Spider-Man game is miles better than any of the Batman Arkham games.
Really?
That's a hot take.
Better story wise.
Really? Oh no, I know I know we don't want to get off like video games right now, but really, how so? What do you?
I think the combat is much more like we were talking about the bases earlier, and just like I think going about certain like in Batman the Arkham games, you have certain moments where you have to be stealthy. You have certain moments where you can go in and you can be a tank. You can beat up everybody around you, kind of thing. But in Spider-Man, you can play the whole game stealthy if you want. If you wanted to, you could be stealthy if you wanted to.
Yeah.
There are annoying moments in the Spider-Man game where it's just a stealth mission. But I think like it gives you these opportunities to play how you want to play. And I think that's like a lot of like big problems with games today is like a lot of open world games. They're like, you can only play this way in this moment. Like that's what I hated about Red Dead 2 is because like you can't be creative with the ways that you want to play, especially when you're doing missions that progress the story, is you have to play the way the game wants you to play. And if you don't play that way, you're going to get a mission fail. In Spider-Man, I don't think it does that. In Batman, it does do that. And in like The Last of Us is different because it's not an open world game. But in Metal Gear Solid, you can literally do anything that you want. You can call in like a tank and then like ride a mech through a base and blow everything to smithereens, or you can just go in there and you can like choke everybody out. And that's what I love about games is when you are in complete control. And I think Spider-Man kind of has those moments where you are in complete control.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because I feel like Spider-Man is kind of a different, even though it uses a similar control scheme to like the Arkham games, I feel like they're kind of two different games. Because like while Spider-Man is more along the lines of giving the player freedom and do what they want in terms of combat and like just roaming around, Batman focuses on giving the player freedom in regards to like combat, like stringing together like really satisfying combos where you like hit a villain or hit like a bad guy really hard, and you can like feel how bone crushing it is and like how disgusting it is.
Uh-huh.
But, like, it's because Batman relies more on the structure of a story, saying, okay, you can do what you want, you can roam like Arkham or wherever you want to, but there is eventually like a place you have to go to, which I get how it can be annoying for some people. But having that kind of structure, I don't know, it's kind of comforting at points too, because when you have a world that's that big, it can kind of get confusing as to what you want to do, how you can weigh certain things, how you relay certain quests or whatever. And in Spider-Man, I feel like the most satisfying thing you want to complete is the story in a certain like kind of respect. Because a lot of the side missions to me feel kind of annoying, especially like the Taskmaster ones. I don't really like those.
I love the Taskmaster.
Really?
I think I platinum Spider-Man because like all of like the Sony like original games, I like have this weird thing where I just want to platinum.
You also have easy platinums usually.
Yeah,
like Horizon Zero Dawn's platinum, I got so close to getting it.
Dude, Horizon Zero Dawn, another great game, but we won't.
Dude, oh my god.
Don't
get me started.
Yeah, but like I found the Taskmaster ones like really fun because it has a great payoff. I think the fight with Taskmaster is.
I like the Taskmaster character.
Yeah, I do too.
I like her a lot. And I feel like so I'll end the video game conversation just by going off of what Adam said about, or not Adam, Landon said about video games surpassing films sometimes. And one of the most emotional experiences I've had playing a game, it's kind of a meme, but it was playing Undertale, where that is a game that like fully takes advantage, that's not the right term, like it completely understands the expectations that you're coming into this game and completely messes with them in a very satisfying and like thematic way, where it's a game that like it is a game that no matter how you play it, it kind of understands the mentality that you're going in with, and then tries to interact with you, the player specifically, and then mess with your expectations about how a game works, while also having an extremely engaging story, really memorable characters, like a great combat. Like, the problem with Undertale is it's so overexposed. Like, it's such a meme that I don't know if people will ever take it seriously ever again. But there was that great, like, 1 year period where Undertale wasn't the biggest thing, or like, it wasn't such a thing, that it was incredible to play for the first time. You didn't know what it was about, what was going to happen, and it just washed over you and completely surprised you.
And Undertale is one of those games where it's just like the art direction is so, I don't mean this as an insult, it's so like plain, but it's so purposeful in the way that it
the art is so like expressive though. I feel
yeah. That's, I don't mean it like, I don't mean plain. It feels like it was a game made by like a couple of people or a single person.
I mean, it was made by like three, like there was like one guy doing the entire soundtrack, which is over 100 songs, and all of them are great. There's not a bad song in that soundtrack, right? Like, you have like three people doing the art, one guy doing the writing and the programming and everything, Like, it's a singular vision that is so incredibly well realized. Like, it's just, it's a rare experience that I think is kind of shattered somewhat by the community. That is very annoying sometimes, and just by the memes and Sans Undertale and whatever. But like
Sans Family Guy Undertale,
like it's just,
Undertale,
like, and like those are funny memes and it's great, but I'm afraid it kind of cheapens the experience for people who are not aware.
Yeah, another game. I know we said we were going to stop talking about games, but like every time it's like,
here's another one.
I don't know if any of you guys have like played this, but there's a game called Celeste.
Ooh, I know of it. I know.
I like legit bawled during that game. That game is so powerful, but it's also just a great game. Like, the whole idea of the game is overcoming depression, and they do this through the idea of climbing a mountain. And it's the way that they tell the story, the way that the gameplay feels. Like, you get so frustrated. It's like, the game is actually like brilliant in the way that it handles everything. It's a hard game, and you keep getting frustrated, and you want to give up. And like, the story revolves around this person that is like dealing with depression, and it's just that whole idea of like you climbing this mountain to try to like topple that depression, but like you have these levels that are so infuriating, and you want to give up because it's so hard to get through, but you know that you want to get to the top of this mountain, and you want to overcome this depression. It's just the way that they handle it is so like poetic and so masterful. But movie's still great, you know what I'm saying?
Celeste is on sale for $5 on the Switch right now. I'm very tempted to buy it. So
you should buy it. I think it's a perfect game. I feel a lot of people have complaints with it, but I think it's actually great.
Unless we have anything else to talk about. Are we all?
Sorry, Sam. What are you saying?
I was gonna say I was about to move on if no one else had anything else to say.
I just wanted to bring up a game that I like.
Please, Brandon. Please.
I Am Toast.
I Am Toast.
It makes you feel like you are
toast.
You're the bread.
Press that button. It hits different. Okay, I'm sorry. Sam, go ahead.
I play sports games, so I have no horse in this conversation.
Except for make you feel like you're in the sport.
It does. Like NBA 2K, like it's terrible. It's a terrible game. Okay, I just read for a second.
The slot machine myself.
And I'll talk about a video game real quick, and then we can move on. Brandon, go ahead.
Okay, how you played 2K before, Adam?
Older 2K.
Okay, no, that's when it was so good. 2K now has become something that is so soul draining and so ugly because it's the same game year after year after year, and they try to sell this experience to you that it's like, oh, this time it's different. We've included new controls and new character animations and everything. It's the same game over and over again.
Like
and
Madden.
including microtransactions take away from all the fun out of the game. And like from my career things, Landon's experience before because a friend of ours named Christian, he plays 2K as well. And he played my career. And I think it was, which one did you watch?
2K19.
Was it the one before? Wait.
Oh no, it was the one with Shaq. And Shaq comes up and he's talking about like chicken or like toast or something like that. I forget what it is. I'm like, what is this writing and what is going on right now?
It's bad. Like, and like Spike Lee came in to do one. I think it was 2K16. Spike Lee wrote my career for it. And like your character's name Frequency Vibrations. That's the name of the character. And you have okay, I don't care if I spoil it. Okay, it's a bad game, but like it's a bad story. But in the game, like you have a friend who like sabotages your every move and like takes your money and everything. His name is Victor Van Leer. And like, you call him Vic Van Leer. And at the end of the game, he gets in a car crash, right? And then to end the story, Vic Van Leer, he comes to your basketball court you always play as a kid, dressed in white, like he's an angel, and does a freestyle a cappella rap, recapping the story. And then the ends with like, now I'm in heaven. It ends like it's an out of body experience to the fullest extent, but like I'm happy I played it though.
Why do you buy it every year then if it's the same game?
Because like I don't know, I fall for it because it's like it's basically just a game with an updated roster, but like I feel like it's just, and like the story is different every year, but it's just never good. I play for my career and for my league. And I always am playing my league, but my career, the story every year is different. And I'm interested to see if the story gets any better because they bring in a new team. And one year, Michael B. Jordan was in the game. He played your best friend. And like, you guys were on the same roster together in the game. And like, your duo is called Orange Juice. And you have like a little dance. Every time you hit a shot, you're like, Orange Juice? And you do a handshake. And like, it's really bad. And Michael B. Jordan, it's one of his best performances, though, honestly. He's good in the game. So, like, Michael B. Jordan's in one, and then the last one, like, Shaq's in it again. But, like,
How about Spike Lee?
Yeah. Were you here when I talked about the game a little bit?
I was leaving when Shaq was talking about chicken.
Oh, no, because, like, basically, I'll just recap really quick. So, in 2K16, Spike Lee wrote the story for the
I remember that, yeah.
game. And throughout the game, you have a friend named Victor. Your name in the game is Frequency Vibrations. That's your name. That's your player's name. And you have a friend named Victor Van Leer. And throughout the game, Vic Van Leer, he sabotages your every move, like takes your money and like is a real asshole. And like he dies in a car crash in the game. He's like gets so deluded with the life. And at the end of the game, Vic Van Leer appears on the basketball court he plays as a kid, and he's dressed in white like he's an angel. He has like white Jordans on, white jean pants, a white T-shirt, and he like does an a cappella freestyle rap of what happened in the game. Recaps it as an angel.
That isn't the most Spike Lee thing I've ever heard.
Right? No, it's such like you can tell he wrote it. You can tell he wrote it because it's like you can tell, and it's like,
ends with a Malcolm X quote, like.
Right? Oh my God, yeah. And sorry. Anyways, I miss Hokusai.
Well, the
wanted to
one
talk about
thing
it.
I wanted to make.
Oh, sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
The only thing that I wanted to make a note about, because I mostly just do sports and racing video games, not so much things with stories. So I just finished
Your own story, Adam.
What?
You're making your own story.
Yeah, sorry.
I just finished my first full season in Formula One, and like I appreciate the realism, I guess, because like I got contract offers from 4 other teams and a renewal from my team, and I was like no, and I decided to go to a better team, and I won 8 races, so that's where I'm at. I had a good rookie year.
Hey, congratulations.
Heck yeah, Adam.
I got a contract offer from one of the top 2 teams, and I decided to go to Toro Rosso instead because my ultimate goal is to drive for Red Bull, because that's my team in Formula One. So
Adam, throughout the game,
sorry.
have you made it to the Piston Cup yet? I did it.
No, that's an unlockable level later in the game, though.
Is it actually?
Like, you ever unlock like a Chick Hicks like kind of like player like car model? Is he in the game?
No. If anything, I would have been because the team I drove for had green cars.
Okay, that's disappointing. I'm not gonna play.
Who's the bad guy in Cars 2, like the Formula One racer?
Oh, the Italian dude?
Yeah, the Italian dude.
I don't know his name.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Oh God. But before we get into talking about Miss Hokusai, there are a few things that I want to talk about. Because we didn't talk about them last episode. I want to talk about the Dune set photos, not
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, Dune set photos, and I want to talk about Amazon Prime and their festival that they say they're going to be holding on Amazon.
For South by Southwest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about the Dune set photos?
Looks fine. I don't know anything about the source material, but I'm excited.
Oh, you don't think it's? Oh, wait. Do any of you know about it?
I just
It's
know
Reddit.
Look.
I've watched
Wait, you read it? Wait, Len, you read it?
I haven't read it. I watched the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune.
So I need to
Okay.
watch that.
It's really great.
I started a podcast where they're going through every one of the books. I haven't finished the first episode, but I think it's going to be a really great resource where I don't have to read the books. So I'm excited for that.
Okay. Yeah, it's about this guy who like Timothy Chalamet plays. His name is Paul Atreides, and he moves away from his planet to like this new planet where Stellan, the guy who's played by Stellan Skarsgård, he's like kind of a spice miner, and he like harbors all of the spice on this planet. And basically, because it's going to be in 2 parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're splitting up into 2 parts, which I think is really interesting. Because like we talked about Prisoners last week, and a lot because didn't we talk about this last week, Dune?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we're talking about the set photos.
We talk about Prisoners, yeah.
No, we talked about like Dune too, right?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but I don't think we talked about the set photos.
Right.
Okay. Because like didn't they release some new ones too?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
so
released
I
a
think
new
when we
one.
talked, they just had the Timothy Chalamet photo of him on the beach. And now we have more of like the cast.
But also, you see David Lynch's like thing too.
Yeah.
He was like, I will not be watching it or
He
something.
said,
like
I'm not interested at all in Dune.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I don't think that was like a slight towards Denis Villeneuve. I think it's just like I don't care about Dune. Like I'm over it.
Yeah, hasn't he like? Isn't that his Alien 3?
Basically, I mean, they gave David Lynch a bunch of money after the Elephant Man. They were like, figure it out, and he was like, "Yo, I made it 4 hours." They were like, "No, we're gonna change this," and then no one liked it.
Yeah. He didn't get the cut he wanted is all I knew.
Which
They gave us Kyle MacLachlan, so good trade-off.
I wanted to talk about the set photos of Oscar Isaac.
Don't get me started.
We,
Don't get me
we
started.
talked about this. We talked about this a little bit on Friday, but this isn't a negative thing. Like speaking of video games, I think Oscar Isaac's costume design and the way that the set photo is set up looks like he's a Final Fantasy like 15 character or like
Hunk.
yeah,
All right.
he is a hunk, but it's very Final Fantasy-esque. And I'm not saying that as a negative thing, but like I like the influences that he is taking in this movie with the costumes, because I think he is making it his own in general. Because like if you look at David Lynch's Dune or what Jodorowsky was going to do with it, they're kind of similar in a lot of ways. But this looks, I don't want to say it looks Blade Runner-esque, but it looks like a mix of medievalism and like futurism, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of what Dune is, honestly. If you like.
Yeah, and I think that's what you need to go for if you're going to make a Dune film.
Yeah.
Is to mix that medievalism and that futurism like perfectly, and I think they're going to like succeed in that.
Yeah.
Because Oscar Isaac looks like a badass in that.
A handsome man.
He looks like a handsome man with a full beard.
He's a bad ass. His ass is bad.
Honestly, everyone in that movie looks like great. Like anytime they show a set photo, I'm like, I want to watch this now. Like I want to be in this world. You know?
Yeah. What were the other photos released? Because I think I only saw the Oscar Isaac one and the Timothy Chalamet one.
There were a lot.
Dale one too.
Yeah, there's a Jason Momoa one.
Wait, what does Jason Momoa look like?
Jason
He's in, like the
Momoa.
one with like the whole they're all lined up, and like
No, there's one of just him, right? Am I
yeah, there's
crazy?
one with him too. But he's also in the one with all lined up.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Where we get the Ladybird reunion?
yeah. Stephen Henderson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm
No,
just.
you're fine. I'll just say that, like, you know, I'm a big Denis Villeneuve fan, and so I'm kind of here for whatever he does. Like, if Denis Villeneuve came out and was like, "All right, I'm gonna make a 9/11 musical," I'd be like, "All right, I'm here. Like, let's go."
Oh my God.
I'm gonna watch it. Like,
Oh,
I'm
that
there
was
for it,
good
dude.
stuff.
I don't know what you're gonna
Why
do.
is
but I'm
Oscar
here for
ready, man? You're like all hung up today. I don't know what it is.
I'll watch everything he does.
it. Be like, hey,
All
man,
right,
that's
so-
crazy, but you know what? I trust you.
Very true.
So yeah, here are some of the set photos. We have Timothy Chalamet, and who is that next to him?
Rebecca Ferguson.
Rebecca Ferguson, and they
Hot
have
off the heels of The Kid Who Would Be King.
They're going swimming.
What are these like devices called again that they wear?
I don't know.
Snorkels.
Zendaya, is she
That's
wearing
Zendaya's character Chani.
Chani? Who is she?
She's someone who's from not Timothy's planet, but from Paul's planet, and she's like the love interest of the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we are. Group
There's
photo.
Jason right there on the far right.
Right here?
Yes, Jason.
That's Jason Momoa?
That's Aquaman.
I mean, that's a low quality.
That's why he doesn't have the thing in his nose, because he can breathe in water.
Shut up.
That's why he doesn't have the thing.
He looks like a thumb in this set photo. he looks strange.
I mean, like he looks like a beefcake.
And
here's the priest from Lady Bird.
Yeah.
The Lady Bird reunion. There it is.
I've never seen him from this angle. He feels so cute.
Here's the photo that we
My
were
boy.
talking about.
Is that Brolin in
Look
the
at that
Yes,
beard.
Brolin.
God.
He looks like he was about to slit my throat, and I accept it.
Yeah,
I'd be like, please.
If you want, like I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're feeling it.
Who is this?
I don't remember her name, but like in the book and in like the original film too, she's played by a white man, and in this one,
Really?
like, yeah. So it's very interesting. It's like the kind of she's a black woman now, but yeah, she's in something like oh yeah, there's Jason right there.
There he is.
There's the boy.
I don't like him without his beard.
Why?
I'm with you, but
Yeah.
also I'm here for it.
Is he like the antagonist or like
Oh no, he's a good guy.
he's a good guy? Okay.
He's a good guy.
All right. So that's it on Dune Talk.
Dude, that's a new show.
Welcome to Dune Talk, everybody. Today,
Dog, where none of us have read Dune.
I love the idea of having a podcast called Dune Talk. Where who knows anything about Dune?
So Dune is sci-fi, right? Like they're on a desert
Oh,
planet or
Dune,
something.
right?
I don't know.
There's a podcast I used to listen to called I forget what it was called, but I used to listen to it last summer, where it's people like tried to guess the plot of a movie based off the poster. So funny.
That sounds
And-
great.
And it was like each like it was like a season thing. So they would try to guess like what the plot of the movie was based off the poster, and the last episode of the season they would actually watch the movie and see how close that they would get. And it was really, really funny, and like the comedy that sparked from that was great. But yeah, that was a little side tangent. That's what we're gonna do with Dune Talk.
Guess the plot.
What's the plot of Dune exactly? So the end is the end of desert, and there's a lot of dunes that go up and down.
Goes, woo, woo, woo.
And like maybe they try to get to the top of Dune, like all the different like factions try to get to the top of the Dune.
They're archaeologists and they look at the sand and say, "Oh, it's from a dune."
And sometimes they get thrown
Like
out
a
of
movie.
Jason Momoa.
Wow. Dune.
But yeah, the other thing that I talked about, the Amazon Prime, they're going to try to do a festival on Amazon Prime with the South by Southwest films. And I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the festival idea coming to streaming services and how you guys think that would work and if that would work.
I think it could work for something like South by Southwest or something like even like TIFF too. That's so like audience focused and where the audience can actually go into the film and watch all of the films and be involved in the Q&A screening process. But for something like Cannes, it's a lot more exclusive, or Venice, I don't think that could work. Because I heard that Cannes was thinking about doing something like an online festival this year. But I don't know how you'd regulate it, because I could see people like kind of hacking into it and like getting all the films and ripping them and putting them on 1, 2, 3 movies. So Adam can watch them all and be like, hey guys, you know I saw 1, 2 movies this last night? I saw Dune. Bringing it back to Dune talk and like
No one else has seen it. Adam's like, yeah, dude, I got an exclusive copy of Dune. I went on to BitTorrent.com and
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I could see that something like that happening where I don't know how that could kind of be regulated, but for something like at South by Southwest, where I feel like a lot of the films could be could be shared with like just people like us, not people who aren't really in the industry, I think that would work. But for something like Cannes or Venice, I'm not sure.
I like the whole idea of kind like, because I went to TIFF, and I don't want to give any bad like word to TIFF, but there's definitely this whole idea of, I don't want to say pretentiousness, but this whole idea of like ego.
Well, Len, you went as a critic though, because like I went as just an audience member, and for me it was so fun. Like I had
it was. I think that those would be fun. Like the some like audience like shows that I went to, they were fun. I went to a open screening of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and everybody into it. But like a lot of the screenings that have to do with film critics, and I'm guessing this is how Cannes is as a whole, and like Venice is.
It's how every film festival is.
Yeah, there's like this whole like aura of just ego and like narcissism that like
Sundance is especially.
Yeah, there's this whole idea of like ego and narcissism that like lies within the like the critic screening.
The blue check community.
Yeah, the blue check community. But yeah, I feel like stripping that back and making it available to everybody is kind of like a genius idea, and I kind of hope that this continues in the future. Do you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
I think letting people watch movies before they are like purchased and like distributed to like a wider scale will give people opportunities to see movies they normally wouldn't see. And I think it would kind of help the movie industry as a whole. Because if they're going to have, like what Amazon Prime was planning on doing is having like a 10-day festival basically only on Amazon Prime and having all the movies available. I don't know if it's come to fruition yet. I don't think it has.
And I was gonna say a part of the plan was also making it free.
It was gonna be making it free, and I think because like people watch these movies and they'll be like, man, I really want to watch this on the big screen or something. They'll be exposed to things, and they'll go to their friends and they'll be like, hey, did you see this? And they'll be like, no, I didn't. And they're gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be in theaters this day. Let's go see it, kind of thing. And I think that's something that's gonna help a lot of these smaller filmmakers and these smaller industries to help promote their movies. And I kind of hope this is the future that film festivals take.
Yeah, but I mean, I love the atmosphere of the film festival though. And
I love the atmosphere of film festivals as well.
The idea of that going away where it's a bunch of people just in line having this with a lot of energy, a lot of like a lot of happiness and a lot of stuff, just waiting for the movie to start that people might not see for another few months. The idea of that is just so fun to me. The idea of that going away for like a more online experience where something you can just be at home in your pajamas watching is attractive. But I mean, the experience of it being in person is still something that's otherworldly.
Yeah, that is true. Like I don't want to take away from the film festival experience as a whole, because I think you will never have as much fun at a movie than you will seeing a movie at a film festival.
Yeah.
Because especially for like smaller movies, like watching Portrait of a Lady on Fire, or like watching The Lighthouse at TIFF was like watching Avengers Endgame for like a normal audience. Do you know what I mean? Because like everybody's so into it. Like everybody's just like there and they love it. They're just like eating everything up about this movie. Like it's so much fun. And like you can like just turn to somebody you're sitting next to and talk to them about it, and they'll like talk to you what they think this means or what they think that means. And it's just this like communicative experience that is so effective and so infectious at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the whole appeal of film festivals are, I feel like, because the idea that you can, like you said, you can be sitting next to somebody who you don't know at all, you've never seen before your entire life, and you can have this really deep and meaningful conversation about a film you just saw for maybe even hours, and just sit there with the same energy, with the same kind of experience, having shared the same experience, and just talking about a film. Like, there's really nothing like it for me, honestly. Like,
yeah. Like I'll never, like I know you guys are gonna make fun of me for saying this, but I'll never forget seeing Anne at 13,000 feet, and then like, having like an hour-long conversation with somebody about the movie after we watched it, because like we both had different opinions on the movie, but like it was still this experience where we were able to share our opinions and like what we thought the meaning was, and they were just so invested the entire time. It was never just like a bullshit conversation. It was like a deep, meaningful conversation about our own experiences and how those kind of like affected our movie-going experience, and like how that made the movie better or worse for the person that watched it. And I think that,
or it could be, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that's what movies are all about, and I think that's what the festival experience really encapsulates. But I think having this online will make that festival experience open to everybody. And I think that's what's the most important.
Those conversations can be more viral, more open-ended.
Yeah. Like I think like
more easily accessible.
It'll be more of a social media thing, but you will have that same community, but it won't be face to face. It won't be the same experience, but you will have this overall community to the movies that people are watching on Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever streaming service that it will be on.
Yeah, my only thing is just like, I don't know how you're going to regulate it, you know, because I feel like you can kind of go down a slippery slope with something like this, because like I mentioned with the whole thing about hacking or whatever, but the idea that, oh, wow, if this festival is more successful than it would be online than it would be in person, I mean, I don't really think that. And plus, it's less of a safety risk too. The idea that festivals might be kind of like going on the downturn, it's kind of scary to me, because I still want to be able to go to festivals and everything. But there's a very real possibility if like South by Southwest is successful, people will be like, oh, okay, maybe we should start moving this online or something. But then again, like festivals are a really big way for like movie stars and everyone to get for publicity for their films and everything. And like the red carpet experience is something, especially for like festivals like Cannes or like Venice, it's a very exclusive thing, and like it's very exclusive to a lot of people who like media members who just fans or everything. Where it's like, okay, so I remember you said you saw Bong Joon-ho, and like,
yeah, but that wasn't even a red carpet thing. That was
just like a restaurant.
That was me walking back to my Airbnb with my headphones in, and like this black car pulled up next to me, and like Bong Joon-ho just like walked out of the car and went straight into a restaurant. And I was like, what? That was just Bong Joon-ho that walked in front of me.
Is that my boy?
Is that my boy Bong?
Done.
Like, yeah, those experiences will be lost, but I feel like stripping that inclusivity is such, I think that this might just be my own personal vendetta, but I think stripping that inclusivity is something that is super powerful, and I think should be done. I think the whole inclusivity of film festivals is kind of
a problem,
classist and problematic at the same time, I think personally.
What I think would be
definitely great. But yeah, sorry, what's that, Sam?
I was gonna say, I think like, so knowing Amazon's assets and who they own, right? Wouldn't it be great if you could recreate this experience like on Twitch or some streaming service where it's like, hey, we're going to be showing this movie at like 3:00 and 6:00. You come into the stream, you watch it, you talk with everybody, you know? Like, I think you can still, it won't be the same, of course, but you can still recreate that communal experience, I feel like.
Yeah, I didn't really think about the whole live streaming aspect of it, because I think that is something that could be taken advantage of, because the whole idea of film festivals is being there on time, or like waiting in line. And like if you had like Twitch or some like live streaming service hold a film festival and be like, okay, we're only letting this amount of people in, and you have to be in the queue for a certain amount of time, I think that'll still kind of like get that experience going. but like still strip that inclusivity because you're not going to have somebody from IndieWire be like, well, I get to be at the front of the line because I write for IndieWire. Like,
You might, honestly.
Well,
I'm
I
sorry.
think it's important at
try.
least to consider that kind of thing, at least for right now. Like, if they can't hold things in person, at least for this year, and then you go back to it, and if that idea worked, you have something along those lines, but in addition to the festival themselves, to include more people.
Yeah, because like I was thinking about it earlier too, like before this started too, I was like, there's no way you can have a film festival within the next year.
No.
Because it's totally unrealistic. Because like the whole thing we're talking about is like a bunch of people in the same room waiting in line in the theater, and I just imagine people like hacking and coughing on each other, and just, like it seems like a disaster. Like,
And especially at film festivals, because normally when you see a movie at the film festival, every movie you see is going to be sold out. Even if it's like a small movie, like people, it's still going to be sold out.
I can see it.
So
and like, you're gonna start seeing festivals like TIFF and like Venice, and even like smaller ones like Virginia or like Charlottesville or wherever, like or Virginia or like other film festivals. It's gonna become more of a reality for these like festivals, especially the bigger ones, where it's like, okay, how are we gonna hold these festivals? Because also we don't even know if these films are gonna come out this year. We might even have movies this year. You don't even know. Like, I don't know. Like, well, I think we're going to start to see a lot of these festivals have their stuff online or not happen at all. Or like Telluride too, which is like insane. But
it hasn't like Berlin, what is it called? Berlin Air?
Berlin already happened. Berlin was in February.
So it already happened before
Berlin
COVID and everything? Okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
Because like the next one, it's like Cannes, like the lineup for Cannes was supposed to be announced like 3 days ago.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was supposed to be announced 3 days ago. And like, I know people who have already gotten like their Airbnbs and everything, or have trouble getting their stuff back. And like people who've already had their press passes like applied for it, everything already got approved. And also, there's like Telluride already was supposed to start like accepting applications for press applications like earlier this month. That's not going to happen. It's just like a really sad, weird time for like the industry and everything. I don't know how they're going to recover, because we were talking about it last week. Like the theater experience with this, for Corona and everything, has become more and more irrelevant to a lot of people. For us, it's going to be really, really important, but to a lot of people who've been watching like The Invisible Man online, watching Onward on Disney Plus, it's going to become, they're going to be like, oh, I can just watch these films like in my home. Like, there's no point in me going to the theater. So
I mean, especially if they're profitable for these companies, you know,
Yeah.
like that's going to be the ultimate deciding factor.
Yeah.
Is when theaters open back up, is Disney still going to be like, hey, Soul is going to be in theaters for like 2 weeks and then it's on Disney Plus? How many people are going to go see it in theaters? You know, like I think that's going to be the big deciding factor, is how many companies take on that model and still test it out once things are safe. However, whenever we get there.
And it's dope, because like being stuck at home with the kids and everything, that's a way to keep them occupied, and the parents will pay $20 2-3 times just to keep them,
also, like, because the festival atmosphere, it's really built for like independent films. But I think because a lot of like blockbuster films too, also like for publicity and everything, show their films at festivals. Like 2 years ago, Solo was at Cannes. 2 years before that, Inside Out was at.
Predator. No,
Huh?
that was at TIFF.
What was?
Predator.
Yeah. Like, so was Halloween. But yeah, like,
Halloween's good, all right. I'll
Halloween
defend that
is good.
movie.
okay.
It is.
Anyway, this is a Halloween cast, like, but at the same time,
It is
like,
now.
it is not. Yeah.
Halloween 2018 is good, okay?
Anyways,
I'm sorry to derail that.
no, it's a movie.
It's a good movie.
It is. It's a
It's not
solid.
perfect, but it's a good movie that does a good job of expanding on the ideas started in the first Halloween and bringing it to the modern age.
Jamie Lee Curtis is really good in it.
Yeah.
Jamie Curtis is great in everything.
She's really
When's the last time you saw her in a bad movie? Exactly.
Halloween. Anyways, this Hokusai.
Speaking of not bad movies,
Yeah, speaking of great films, but not Knives Out. Yeah, speaking of Knives Out, great movies.
Miss Hokusai.
Miss Hokusai. All right.
Want to introduce it, Sam?
I'll introduce it. So, Miss Hokusai came out in, it was technically came out in 2015, came out in America in 2016. It is a Japanese animated film animated by Production IG that most famously animated the original Ghost in the Shell from the 90s, which is an incredible film. And it's directed by Kichihara, who has done a few other films besides this one, but nothing too of note. He directed, I believe it's called Colorful. Make sure I get that name right. Colorful. He directed Summer Days with C-O-O. I don't know what that is. But Miss Hokusai is an adaptation of a manga of the same name. That is a biography about the daughter of the famous Japanese painter Hokusai, who did the famous Japanese tidal wave painting that you've probably seen before. And I don't know how accurate this is to the manga, but the film follows the sort of life and exploits of Oe, which is O-E-I, and her life living with her artist father, who is Hokusai. She herself is an artist. And just the general artistic landscape of Japan at this point in the Edo period, where in general, I would say the ultimate point of the film, or the ultimate theme, is the conflict between being an artist and being true to your art and being able to accurately represent life in your art. But the only way to accurately represent life is to live life. But if your life is art, how do you go about doing that? And the film conveys this through a lot of poetic imagery, a lot of episodic, almost folk-tale-ish stories that deal with supernatural elements and incorporating art into them. But then there is a central narrative involving Oe and her little sister, who is this girl here, actually, on my left, and sort of their relationship along with Hokusai. So, I'll just, before we go off on everyone else's opinions, I'll just say it is probably one of my favorite movies ever. It was one of the first analytical videos I ever made was on this film. It's very important for me because it was one of the first independent, non mainstream movies that I saw in Richmond. And in general, I just think it's a gorgeous film that's very relaxing, very I don't know. It has a very good pace and sense and tone and atmosphere to it that I just really, really adore. But more importantly, what do you all think? What were your all's hot takes after seeing it?
I'll go into my spoiler-free thoughts first, and then we'll talk about spoilers after that. Everybody, people that are watching, you guys should watch it before the show, so you guys can talk about it in the
conversation
in the comments down below. I think I love the movie. I loved it overall because of the whole meditative experience of it, the art style, the score at some moments was actually there's so many small moments in the movie that are so minuscule and small, but they're so emotionally effective at portraying what they're trying to portray that it made me tear up a lot of moments, because it is a very powerful movie, but it's also a very kind of bare bones movie at the same time. And it doesn't try hard to pull at your heartstrings. It doesn't try hard at all. It's very much just it's just letting you live the life of Miss Hokusai, or Hokusai himself. Just these small vignettes, they're putting you in their shoes and they're letting you live their experience. And those experiences are quite beautiful at times. They're quite tragic at other times, and they're quite hilarious at other times. It's just a sweet,
the full plate,
green experience in general.
So I really liked it too. Sorry, Landon. What
do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I really liked it too. I've never been. This really has nothing to do with it, but I've never really been an anime person. I've never the closest thing I watched was probably the Sturgill
Cars 2
special. Yes, Cars 2. But no, it's like, especially in the time we're in right now where like everything is chaos, it's a very kind of calm, relaxing movie that you can just kind of watch and things just happen, but there's not really like a lot of tension or like I
There aren't that many consequences, I feel like.
I wanted to say that, but then I didn't want to say that because of the spoiler content that we'll get into.
Well, it's mostly in the beginning. I was thinking about that in this rewatch, where like a lot of the stories that they show are just sort of like getting you into the atmosphere of the film and the tone.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of consequences. The episodic nature comes from the fact that like they'll begin, there's kind of a middle, there's kind of an end, and then you just move on to the next thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a freaking beautiful movie, like the art that goes into it, the animation and everything. We were talking about some of the shots after the movie, like when or like the moments where like, you're on the bridge and the deaf sister is on the bridge and it kind of turns to her perspective and you start hearing more of like what's going on, like the carts going by or the people walking or whatever. There's just like little moments like that that make it really great.
Adam,
Yeah.
question for you.
What?
In your opinion, who's a more complex character? Hokusai or Doc Hudson?
Miss Hokusai, definitely.
All right, Hokusai.
Yeah.
Dad? Okay.
The painter Hokusai, not Miss Hokusai.
Yeah.
I
So
love
not Doc Hudson, not Doc? Okay. Well, because I feel like the relationship Doc and Lightning have is very similar to Hokusai and his daughter.
Oh no, I love Doc Hudson, but
Don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong.
Doc Hudson's
love Doc.
top 3 characters of all
I
time.
love him like a father, but
Doc did nothing wrong.
yeah.
It got me through some hard times in my life, okay?
Turn right to go left. That's become my life motto since I saw that movie.
Okay. Anyways, I really love Miss Hokusai. I think it's almost perfect, except we talked about some moments during before the film that we didn't really love about
Music.
It,
oh god.
Yeah, the music. But I thought I agree with what everyone said. I mean, it's a very beautiful, very serene film. When it goes, like the animation is gorgeous. Like there's moments that stick out to me, like when on the bridge or in the snow, or we talked about it too, like during and after the film. The bridge, like the film builds between art and reality, and how they kind of connect and how they can kind of influence each other, is so kind of it's so poignant because in moments just towards the beginning of the film, where like her and her sister are riding on the wave that Hokusai painted.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, 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 very beautiful, and I think that relationship because we talked about it too, like her sister is a young blind girl. She's very simply very blind, but I didn't realize that, and Landon, I think you said it too. You didn't realize that too, that she was blind until like later on in the film, and so it's just kind of part of her life. And as you move along towards the film, you kind of learn more and more about the relationship, about her relationship with her father. And I think the most interesting thing about the film was like how because something happens in the middle of the film to the daughter, and she's talking about what'll happen, once she passes on, like how where she'll be, how she'll be remembered by everything, and like the way they kind of paint the relationship between her, Hokusai, and her sister. Because one scene later on in the film where she's kind of like where they kind of utilize her blindness to like kind of how to kind of display how her relationship with her father and how she's kind of like just laying down. It's so beautiful, and how the film uses sound and like certain characters kind of perks and everything. I think it's a very, very smart film more than anything as well. So I really, really loved it, and I agree.
Yeah. Oh, go on, Sam.
Well, I was gonna say one thing that I think is so special about this film, and I mean, like looking at other people's takes, which like IMDb isn't the greatest curator of reviews, but the average score of the film is 6.7, which to me is insane. And I think that comes from the fact that the film is so quietly like expressive, where a lot of its big emotional beats aren't like dramatic or in your face, or I think there is like a stereotype with anime where it's very expressive, it's very in your face, it's very outrageous, and Ms. Hokusai is so understated. You know, it's a film that you feel more than you like necessarily comprehend all the time.
Yeah, are we gonna have like a spoiler talk about it?
I mean, do we want to get into spoilers since you all gave our opinion on it? Or
Yeah, we'll get into spoilers, but before we get into that, like, what are your guys' ratings on like Letterboxd?
Ooh, I don't
I mean,
know.
I gave it 5 stars. Like
I gave it 4.
on me.
I was
Sorry?
between 4 and 3.5. I think I gave it 3.5. I might bump it up.
I'm gonna give it 4. Yeah,
Mhm.
or 4.5, honestly.
Yeah, the main reason I'm going to give it 4 is because I don't really love the ending. I think it should have ended a moment sooner, but we'll talk about
Fair.
spoilers. And I don't like some of the musical choices that it uses because it kind of takes away from emotional.
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
But yeah, we'll get into spoilers now. Um,
If I could ask real quick, since we didn't talk
Please.
about that last week, what do we all give the social network on Letterboxd?
5.
Gave it
I
a
gave
5.
it 4.5.
I gave it 4.5. Sam, what'd you say?
5.
Okay, just wanted
100%. I'm very easy to please.
Mark Zuckerberg, Warriors.
So yeah, getting into spoilers. I guess the first like big spoiler moment that I really want to talk about, if it's okay with you, Sam, is I kind of want to talk about the moment where the dragon appears.
That is, so I'll just say, watching the movie for the first time, not knowing anything about it, I legitimately thought the movie was going to go on like a supernatural angle.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was going to be some crazy thing happening with that. And so afterwards, it was somewhat disappointing because the film like gets somewhat supernatural, but again, it's always tied to the art. But I think that's one of my favorite sequences in the film. It's an incredible introduction to the film, and I think it does such a great job of like not only conveying the connection between like life and art, how it is directly affecting each other, but also conveying the relationship between all of these characters and the talent all of them have, or how they all treat each other, like how Hokusai was making the dragon, and then Oe like gets the pipe smoke, or the pipe whatever ashes onto the painting, ruins it, and rather than finishing it, Hokusai goes out and drinks with his friends, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and Oe is the one left to finish it because she is so talented. She is so great at her art, but she is still underevaluated, you know.
Yeah, I because Brandon brought this up earlier, the whole idea of reality with art in general, and I think that's like it's pretty early on in the film, but I think that's when I fell in love with it because like it is this moment where the whole idea of like art and mythology kind of like entwine and like mix together, and it's this very like the whole like message of the movie to me personally is the 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 job of the artist is to portray the magic in the world, and I think it portrays that whole idea really really well, and the way that they can blend in those magical elements without it being like absurd or kind of like cheesy, I think is super super powerful.
And I think it's only possible because it's an animated film. Because I've
Yeah.
often thought, you know, could you do this in live action? Like, why does this have to be animated? And I think it's so important, just what you were talking about, Landon, like capturing the magic of reality, you know? Like I think it's so important that before she paints the dragon, there is the other artist who tells her, like, you know, the trick to painting a dragon is not to focus too much on it, but to let it flow out, you know, once you've captured it, to just never stop, never let it go, and just do it all in one motion, one stroke, you know. It's that sort of impossible metaphor, or like impossible thing to do. You know, it is a mythological task just to accurately capture a dragon in a painting.
Yeah.
And like you talked about it a little bit too earlier, like this is a period piece.
Yes.
It's a film about a real woman, a real time, the Edo period in Japan, 1814, I believe. And like it's about a woman who kind of really dealt with all this stuff living in her father's shadow, coming in her own as an artist. And whether or not the fancy things did happen, I don't know if there was a dragon, maybe not them, I don't know. But I think that a lot, because you were talking about earlier too, why the film might not have connected with a lot of people as it did, because you said on IMDb it had like 6.7, something like that. Yeah, because you said, and I agree with you 100%, that a lot of the emotional beats in the film aren't as punchy as maybe as a lot of people might want them to be. They're a lot more subtle and a lot more understated.
I was
like,
saying, I think it's something like Your Name, which is like it's an anime melodrama that like
this is by no means a melodrama. Yeah,
like it's so over the top and it's extremely effective. Like it's a great movie, but like like it's just so much. It's so much at once.
Yeah, but in this, when like the big emotional beat in the film happens, when of course her sister dies, it's really just a gust of wind through the house. And she realizes, you look in her eyes and she kind of shifts. She just takes off running. She doesn't cry or anything. She's just like, you're too late. And that makes it hit even harder for me, honestly. Because it's just
it made it hit really hard until you got
Miss Hokusai. I will never, dude, watching the movie the first time and like the gust of wind happens and she has that reaction. I was like, oh no, like I remember feeling so just like invested, and then and I was like, oh, like you're ruining the scene. Oh my god.
Because like as soon as that gust of wind like hits, you feel like, I know this is
you know it in your heart.
You feel like that air that just entered the building like leave your lungs. Like you feel it personally. You're just like, oh my god, like I can't believe this just.
And then it's the great moment of her running, which is an incredible moment. Like without sound, it's incredible. It captures, like, it's probably the most impressive sequence in the film animation wise. Like I can only imagine how long that took, how many hours and days someone spent animating that, and how it is immediately ruined.
Sam, fix it, Sam. Just mute it. Put on some flip flops and just like
get some wooden clogs. Just like
I'm wearing flip flops right now, everyone. For everyone who doesn't know, I'm wearing flip flops. So just put some flip flops on and run, just like run in place. And it'll be fixed.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think that moment is so effective before the music kicks in, because there are moments in the film that deal with her like younger sister. There's not a lot of these moments, but the moments that there are with her younger sister are so effective.
They're so memorable.
They're so memorable. Like we talked about it when we were watching the movie. I remember you saying like, this is my favorite scene. And it's the scene that you're in front of right now, dealing with them in the snow. And I remember like tearing up watching that scene. Like I didn't cry, but like I started to feel the like welling in my eyes, where like I could have started to cry, because it's such like a beautiful, serene moment just of this woman, or this little girl who's blind, that is actually like experiencing her childhood for the first time.
Also, we haven't talked about yet too the score in the scene.
Yeah, it's so perfectly done, because you have this moment where it's just so serene. It's so personal. It's kind of like nostalgic at the same time, even though this is taking place in like a time period that we never existed in, or a location that we never existed in. There is this nostalgia factor to it, where it is like, it's just this moment of pure joy and just like infatuation with the environment and the person that you're interacting with. Like, you don't know the name of that boy that offers her to play in the snow, but like
you remember him. He's so
important, because it's like the first moment that is like adult. Do you know what I mean? Like the movie isn't like directly adult oriented, but it's very much just like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this. This is like a moment where you can like kind of embrace your childhood. This is a moment where you can embrace like the beauty in nature. And I think the way that they execute it is quite beautiful in every sense of the word. And it's just like, what's her name again? Ozai? Is that what her name is?
Oe.
always sitting there and then remembering her childhood and how she wasn't ever able to experience that feeling was heartbreaking. And it was just so well done. Like, that scene is actually beautiful. And I think that's kind of like the heart and soul of the film. Even though it's not a long sequence, it's so super impactful, and it kind of like carries throughout the entirety of the film.
You feel it.
You feel everything after that. It's just like, that's when the movie really won me over, because it was just like, it was just such a beautiful, genuine moment.
Well, so how do we feel about the more supernatural elements after the intro? So we have there's the sequence where they meet with the geisha, or like the they go to the brothel and they meet the woman who has the condition where like the ghost appears out of her neck. Or we have like the painting depicting hell, where it's infecting this woman's life, where she's seeing visions of like demons. How do we feel about that in general? Do we have a general take on that, or general opinion?
It didn't really take me out of the movie, and I thought it was an interesting element that added to it.
Yeah, I think it kind of bleeds into the movie really well. I like I said, I think the supernatural elements kind of work to portray this idea of where the artists live in society, in this society that they reside in, where they are almost the shaman more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are artists, but they are also kind of like this therapeutic being that helps people's lives at the same time.
Right.
Both of these actions that they commit, if it's the person if it's the person that has the demon come out of her face, or the person that is experiencing hell through the painting, like they fix these moments, and it shows how important art is to this culture and this certain point in time. And I don't think it takes out of the movie. I think it makes it surreal, but it doesn't make it to a point where it's just like, this is pretentious. It makes it to a point where it is it's beautiful, I think, personally.
Yeah.
It becomes a painting itself in a lot of these aspects.
And I think with these moments, I think it is a great kind of what you're talking about, Landon. It talks about how important artists are to this society at this time, where art, I always think about how with the painting of hell, how it so directly affects this woman's life. It so haunts her, not only because there is a lack of, a religious wholeness, like how Hokusai adds the Buddhist monk, the Buddhist statue to the painting, but that's also the painting lacks balance, because there isn't something filling in that negative space. So it is at once an artistic issue that is being turned into a larger important factor, whereby not having balance thematically, along with not having balance in a visual mechanical sense, you are losing the balance of the painting in general, and how it can negatively affect people and how it can manifest itself, because they believe in power so much.
Yeah. I think that moment, like, to a lot of people, like, at first when I watched it, I was like, this is kind of out of place. But in the whole like grand scheme of the movie itself, like, it kind of plays into the whole theme of the importance of art and how invested you can get into art, where like your reality and art kind of like blend together.
Right.
And I think that moment kind of shows how the obsession with art can kind of lead to a negative space, if you know what I mean.
No, totally. Yeah.
The people that hold this painting, they are genuinely obsessed with the painting. That's all they think about, and it kind of like negatively impacts their headspace to a point where these people have to come in and change the painting, or like completely
Fix it.
or fix it. And it's just like how important, it's kind of like a message on how important art is to culture in general. And I think that message is super, super impactful. in the grand scheme of the movie. Because there is a moment that we'll talk later about when Brandon comes back near the end, where I think the artist realizes how important reality is to art. Because like after that moment, I feel like reality is kind of lost. It's not fully lost, but it's starting to like dissipate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like reality is starting to dissipate, and like the art has kind of like fully taken over. Not their lives, but the person that bought this painting's life. If they weren't able to sleep, they weren't able to do anything because art was controlling their life.
Right. And I think like talking about the way reality affects art, one of my favorite sequences in the film, every sequence is my favorite, let's be honest. But I really love the scene where it's sort of Oe dealing with relationships, where she first goes to the publisher and he's like, "Oh, you paint erotica really well, you know, like you do a great job with this. But you don't paint men very well. You know, your portrayal of men isn't great." And it's implied that because Oe is a virgin, she's never been with a man, like she doesn't have the experience to properly portray it. So she sort of goes on this like journey almost, where she goes to a brothel, she tries she goes out with a different guy, she tries to like get dressed up for a different guy, you know, like it's this great moment of someone trying to escape like their comfort zone, of trying to escape this art that they know and they're experienced with, and kind of being bitten by it, you know, kind of having to learn the tough way how negative of an experience that can be. You know, and it's always stuck with me, I think, because of the music choice and of the way it's presented, and it's always been a moment that has really defined the movie for me in a weird way.
Yeah, I remember I talked to you after the movie about it, because I was just like, so was that supposed to be a woman? Like I didn't really because like my laptop died like halfway through the movie, and I was like, all right, I gotta pause the movie real quick, get a charger. And I kind of like missed that whole setup. But thinking about it in like the grand scheme of things, and not just that scene, but the whole scene, like after we talked, like I kind of like reflected upon the movie in general about the the character that always comes and like visits her dad's art studio, or like the studio
yeah
operate in. Like I was like, why was he so important? But then like reflecting upon that one relationship she had with the guy who carried the umbrella with her that one time.
Rock.
And I was thinking about that scene, and I was thinking about how important it is to like the overall message of the movie and just the emotions of the movie. And I was thinking about the scene where she goes and she throws that tile in the water after she sees him walking with another woman.
And
I thought about how like
the ticket for the show they're gonna go to.
Yeah, I thought about how like this kind of sounds weird, but like this was her, like she believed in her head like this was her one opportunity with love. And like seeing this happen, like she feels like this one opportunity with love has kind of like dissipated. Like she never really has had love. Like she's had the love of her father and she's had the love of her sister, but she's never had this kind of intimate love. And she never had this intimate kind of love. And I think that moment kind of like shows her frustration, and it is very, very beautiful, because that one moment of frustration is so expertly like portrayed through that tossing of the tile, if you know what I mean. I know that
totally,
but you know.
No, I think you're 100% right about that. I think we keep hitting on this point. It's like the film portrays these emotions, these large emotional feelings, in such small gestures, you know, and it adds on to the poetic nature of the film, you know, where it feels like the images themselves and the actions people make and the way it's portrayed have so much more impact than anything they could ever say. You know, I always think about, we talked about this after the movie. I always think about the sequence where Always little sister, this girl, she's on her back. They're walking home, and at the same time, Hokusai is on the opposite side of the street, walking towards them, and he's not looking at them. And OA is asking her little sister, like, "Hey, would you want to go see your dad, which is Hokusai? Like, would you want to go see him? Do you want to, you know, do you want to meet with him?" And her little sister is like, "I don't know. I don't want to bother him. You know, I don't want to be a burden," which shows, you know, how neglectful Hokusai has been in their relationship. And there's this incredible shot where both of them, they're walking in opposite directions, but they pass each other at the same time through like an alleyway. And the way the camera is shot, you can see them like head on. And the sun is shining on both of them for like 5 seconds, you know, where they both have reached the same intersection and they're going in different directions, you know, like they have this moment of connection, but it's just lost, you know. Mm-hmm. It's this missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's like, I think we talked about it a little bit at the end of the movie, where it's like very In the Mood for Love-esque, but like for a different reason. For In the Mood for Love, it's very much a kind of thing. But in this movie, it's very much like this disconnection between father and daughter.
Yeah.
Where it is the spatial awareness that has kind of, the audience can read into and be like, oh my God, like this father is like neglecting her. This father is neglecting her, his daughter. And that one single like scene and that single moment leads perfectly into the rest of the movie, which we'll talk about going forward. Just the whole idea of Hokusai neglecting his daughter, who is ill, who is blind, and who does have like a serious illness, and that point carries throughout the entirety of the movie from then on, if you know what I mean. Like, it's very much like that one single moment is kind of the emotional counterpoint to the entire movie. Do you know what I mean?
Counterpoint as in?
Not counterpoint, pendulum. What am I trying to say? Like the triangle
center?
is the balance.
The balance? Okay.
Yeah. It's like that's the moment where you're like, okay, like I can kind of see how distant Hokusai has been to his youngest daughter, and I can see how connected that the daughter has been to her sister. And it's that silent conflict that carries throughout the entirety of the movie, or the rest of the movie, that is so infatuating to me personally.
And well, so this is jumping the gun a little bit, but after Always little sister dies, there was a moment we talked about where Hokusai is looking at the sky, and he's blaming himself for her death. He's believing it's his fault, and the clouds are moving, right? Like they've been still the whole time, like a painting, and now they're moving. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I never noticed that until this viewing. Yeah. I never noticed that in my entire life, but that's a scene and a moment I always felt. Mm-hmm. Even if I was never conscious of the way it was visually portraying this idea of someone who's been so obsessed with their art and so obsessed with their life, finally looking beyond themselves and realizing the impact they have on each other. You know, I've always sensed that, you know, mm-hmm. And I think it speaks to the power of the film, where the characters are so engaging, the visuals are so engaging, even on a subconscious level. I can notice these things, even if my conscious brain isn't aware of it.
Yeah. I feel like I've been talking too much. What do you guys have to say about it?
Anything, Brandon?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kind of dipped into it a little bit during the spoil portion of it, but
we're still in spoilers. You're good.
Still in spoilers, yeah. The portion of except for like the music, which really, really annoyed me because like without the music, that scene would have been perfect. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
incredible. Like it would have been so.
And the part that blows me is like the music is perfect for like 95% of the movie.
Yes.
Right? Like as we mentioned multiple times, the music is incredible most of the movie.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who thought this was the right decision, but it's like, okay, we're gonna open the movie with like dad rock, Creedence Clearwater Revival, like, you know, go into Nam rock music. It's like this doesn't fit at all. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna have the emotional moment of our film, like the moment. Like this is the moment that everybody should be like tearing up, crying, like the horribleness of this character's death is settling in this sequence.
Mm-hmm.
The film is like, yo, what if we put a guitar solo over this?
Oh, I don't understand the thinking behind it. It's just
I know.
I don't understand it because like it's such a great scene, such a great emotional background. Like also the voice performances are really, really good in the film too. Like the man who played Hokusai, who voiced Hokusai, who did it, but he's incredible in the film.
The woman that plays Oe always really in general, always performance, not just from the actress, but from the animators, has always really stuck with me because she's such a unique looking character within the world of anime.
Yeah.
You know, she has this very distinct look where she has this longish neck and sort of a wider face. I don't know. It's always stuck with me. And I think the way the actress plays her is very like, I don't want to say tomboyish. I feel like that puts it into a box, but it's a very, it's more like masculine or like aloof. I don't know if that's the right word. It's a very distinctive performance that's portrayed not only through the incredible voice acting, but from the animators, which the animation of this film is simply incredible. It's gorgeous, as we've mentioned multiple times.
I think the scene, I know we talked about the bad second half of it with the music, but the scene where, what's his name? I don't remember his name, comes in and says that a little girl followed him home, and that slow kind of realization that, you know, oh, we've lost this character. I thought that was really well done.
The way they zoom in on Oe on that moment.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started, man. What is that character's name? Zenjiro. That's his name.
They call him something else, right? It's like an insult or something, right?
Oh yeah, what do they call him?
They call him something that I thought
like Zero. It's Zero something.
Yeah, it's like
he has no talent.
Yeah.
He's a hack.
I wanna talk about like the last act of the movie just in general because I think it is extremely powerful up to the end. I want like the whole scene where she goes and spends the night with her sister, is quite beautiful, and I don't really know how to explain it. Like we talked about it I don't know if you guys have talked about this because I was just in the restroom, where like she's touching her sister's hand, and she's rubbing her sister's hand, and it's just those small moments of animation, those small moments of performance in general that are incredibly impactful, that lead to the moment where they're laying in bed and she's like, am I going, because like there's a moment where they're just like laying about and she's rubbing her hand, and like you're knowing that she's like trying to comfort her, but there's a moment where they're laying in bed. She's like, it's the night before that the younger sister dies, and she's like, I'm going to hell basically, and I'm going to have to stack rocks upon this monument. And it's this moment where Oe like touches her hand and starts like stroking it very gently, where like I couldn't like help to be overwhelmed with emotions. I don't know why. It might have been the moments leading up to it where like it's her being like, something's above us right now, and it's just this praying mantis that like stares into your soul. And there's this kind of poetry to it. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain how it impacted me personally, but it did impact me. Just that one silent kind of sisterly moment where it's just your older sibling checking up for you, or like making sure everything's safe around you. That is so impactful, and kind of, because like I'm an older sibling, and like I don't know, it just kind of like made me think of me and my sister and like our relationship, and just like it was just super emotional for me, because like I don't know, like I can think of my sister being like, hey, there's a spider in my room, can you like come crush it? But like the way that they present it in this movie is like, hey, I hear something above us, can you check on it? And it's just that one moment where like it's so personal, and you can tell that the director or the writer of the manga drew from personal experience as well as the actual history to just kind of portray this whole idea of subtle moments within a relationship between two sisters, or a brother or a sister, or anything. It doesn't matter. It's just this sibling bond that is kind of magical, and quite a heart wrenching at the same time. And I don't know. I'm at a loss for words for that scene, because I can't really describe it, but it really impacted me.
And well, I guess to jump off of that, it's like, I think what makes the ending of the film so impactful, and the little sister's death and all of that, is the fact that the entire film has set up their relationship. Like the intimate moment you're talking about, right? Like I noticed that so vividly, where she's like slowly stroking with her thumb. That's not the only moment, right? Like there's so many moments of Oe being so intimate and personal and affectionate with her little sister. And that, when they first go on the bridge near the beginning of the film, I feel like you can instantly feel the change in Oe, where the whole time she's been somewhat distant, she's been standoffish, she's been very focused. And then whenever she's around her little sister, she becomes super affectionate, super personal, super vulnerable, And it's just this moment that is that is vulnerable for both of them, where her little sister is in such a dire situation, and the way it plays it, the timing, the animation, just the dialogue, it all comes together and has been building for the entire film to get this emotional crescendo. And I mentioned this earlier, Landon, but I think it makes sense that you don't have any words, because it's not really, it's not something that is presented with words. It's not emotion or a feeling that the film tells you. The film expresses it purely through the medium of film, through sound, through animation, through visuals, through editing, just through everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of moments like that. Like the whole like last scene before the last scene, which I thought it should have ended on.
She's painting the portrait.
Painting of her sister. It's just super emotional without it being like overtly like, I'm gonna pull out your heartstrings right now. It's just this small little moment that is just so impactful. I don't know. I think this movie, my rating might go up the more I talk about it and the more I think about it, because there's just all these small little moments that are just so impactful and so important and so emotionally like even like talking about it, like I start to like kind of like tear up a bit, because it's like I said, like I can't really put it to words. It's like poetry, where it's just this kind of, it's a feeling that you get like deep inside of you, where you're like, they don't have to try hard, because they just have to show you life. And I think that's the most impressive part of this movie, is they don't try hard. Like it's a very basic by the numbers movie, but every
execution
is so, it's so genuine and so real while being surrealistic at the same time. It's just very, very special. But
Does
yeah.
anyone have any other opinions or any other takes beyond that? Any other personal feelings about it?
No, I think
Hokusai, good. Is good.
Yeah. I mean, I think I know for me that this movie is
Thumbs up.
very special, and I've yet to show it to someone and them dislike it. I showed this to my group of friends back home, and they all really loved it. And I remember telling them that I was going to show you guys the movie, and they were like, "Oh God, like you're going to show them that they're going to cry, like it's going to be really intense because that the relationship is so strong, you know." And I think this is a fairly underrated movie. It's a movie that fell under fairly under the radar when it came out, and I think it's because again, it's not emotional, it's not dramatic, it's not you know it's not mainstream in the the most pretentious way to say that. But I think if you give the movie a chance, it is on Netflix. It's easy to watch. It is one of the most meditative, poetic experiences I've had watching a film, and it's one that I've watched. I think at this point I've probably watched it twice a year at least since it's come out. I just adore this film so much, and so many of its moments stick with me. The soundtrack's incredible, performances are incredible, animation is gorgeous, the backgrounds are like a painting. I don't know if we mentioned that, but those are just incredible. And it's just like Landon said, it's a feeling. It captures a moment, it captures a feeling, and it personifies it. And it never feels like it's trying. It never feels like it's doing a lot to make you feel a certain way. It's just portraying life in all its complexities and leaving you to decide how you feel about it. And you're either 100% on board or you're not. And the film seems fine with that. The film is aware that it's not for everybody, but it's just going to appeal to every single person. And I think to get into the ending, which I know, Landon, you're not a fan of the way it ends, where it concludes with always sort of explaining where everybody goes after the events of the film, and then showing Japan go or this town of Edo transform into modern day Tokyo. And I always read that as sort of portraying the universality of this message and of this art, where these relationships, this tension between living life and then portraying life in your art is universal. This may have happened 200, 300 years ago, but we're still experiencing this. This is still impactful to us. We still, these paintings, these people's lives still impact us to this day. It doesn't matter what it looks like, the same things are happening every single day. It's just how we help each other get along,
Yeah.
by creating art that speaks to people.
Sorry. Like I said, I think the ending, I feel like my main problem with the ending is the CGI of the city itself.
Especially the boat.
Yeah, the boat is very, 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 very bad.
No, I'm with you on that. I if they cut the ending, I wouldn't be sad overall. I
don't think you needed her like standing on the bridge. I don't think you needed that. I think that could have that narration could have been while she's talking about the painting, and then those moments that they show on the screen could have been on the painting itself.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think the painting would have been a perfect ending because it kind of it shows that the impact of the daughter or the sister in her life had an impact on them, and maybe no, I'm not trying to, I don't know how to say this, not Japan as a whole, but just how that feeling is universal, if you know what I mean. That feeling still carries on today, that feeling of being lost.
And they captured that in that art.
Yeah.
They captured that feeling.
And I think if they cut it just 2 minutes sooner, it would have been a perfect ending.
I'm with you. I don't mind the current ending, but I think you're still right that it would have been better to just end on that image, just sort of summing up the entire film. I think I think this film has some weird editing choices and some weird, you know, it's almost like the production shot itself in the foot a couple of times for no reason,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But overall, you know, I adore this film. Obviously, it's one of my favorite movies, and certainly one of my favorite animated films. I just, yeah, I'm all about it. I could talk about this movie for hours, and I already have. So,
So Miss Hokusai, thumbs up, everyone.
2 thumbs.
All
And
right.
if you wanna hear more of my opinion on it, you can watch my really terrible video that I made in 20.
That's false. That's just false right there. It's an incredible video, Sam. Like all of your videos. They're incredible.
The issue with the video is that I recorded it with a gaming headset where the microphone is worse than my computer microphone.
Mm.
So it literally sounds like it literally sounds like I'm talking into a can. Like it's awful. And I honestly have been considering making the video. I don't know if I'll do it, but like I just
While
think
it's fresh in your brain, you should do it.
do what?
While it's fresh in your brain, like why not do it?
I've been thinking about
You
it.
need another excuse to watch it again.
Because my other video idea is doing something on Mandy, but I haven't gone around to watching it again. So, because I adore Mandy, and I know we're not all.
No, I like Mandy.
I love it. I really do. I need to watch it again at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. Just yeah.
Can I
Mandy's
ask
very special to me.
you guys a question?
Please.
Yeah,
How many of you guys have seen Burning?
Oh, I love Burning.
I've watched it like
Watched it.
halfway through, like clips, because Samantha watched it one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you seen Adam?
Not yet. No, I know it's on Netflix.
I love it, but if you're gonna suggest it, I'm very happy to watch it again.
The last time you watched it was when it came out, right? Did you watch it in
Me?
theaters or on the Netflix?
No, I watched it when it came out on Netflix like
A year ago.
I was at my old house, so it's been at least a year.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but that's all I wanted to ask. So any other things you guys want to talk about in the movie realm, people or anything?
Well, there was something going on Twitter tonight that I meant to mention. Well, first, there's apparently news that Kim Jong-un is brain dead. That broke in like the last hour.
Wait, is that movie related?
No, but
his father did kidnap a Japanese monster movie director and force them to make a movie. Then a criticism of North Korea.
But movie related, apparently Adam Driver's people are trying to cancel him on Twitter.
I researched that, Adam. That's why I didn't bring it up, because it's just ridiculous.
Oh, I know, it's stupid.
Yeah, I don't want to bring it up.
Yeah. So any recommendations for people to watch really quick? Any like for this week or anything?
Just in general, or like what Adam's gonna pick?
No, any recommendations for anyone to pick? For Adam, like recommends a movie for us to see this week.
If you have the Criterion Channel, go watch Harakiri and The Bad Sleep Well. I'm gonna talk about them on my channel this week, but Harakiri is a great politically charged, angry, slow burn of a film about a dude who's like, hey, I want to commit suicide. I want to commit seppuku on your court, feudal Japan lord. And he's like, funny, some dude came by the other week and did that. Turns out he was a liar. And then the film plays out from there. You should watch it. The Bad Sleep Well is Akira Kurosawa's most underrated film. It's a film noir Hamlet set in Japanese business world, and it really hates corporatism, and it's pretty great.
Is this the one? Is this the one about the son being kidnapped?
No, that's High and Low.
Okay.
It still stars Toshiro Mifune in his most reserved performance. It's an incredibly well-made movie that has a lot of incredible sequences, great performances. It's Kurosawa, so it's going to be amazing, but it's definitely one of his most underrated movies. No one talks about it, and it's an incredible film. But if you have the Criterion Channel, you can watch them right now. They're two fantastic movies. If you want more details, I'll review them on my channel this week.
All right, Landon?
Everybody go listen to Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters.
I just want to say I listened to that the other day, Landon, and I absolutely love it. That album is pretty incredible. Yeah.
It's a very special album because every time you listen to it, you feel like you're listening to it for the first time, which is a very, very rare experience for me. Because
Every song is like two
something
songs.
yeah, I always catch something new in every single song. Like I noticed today that like there's a portion in Ladies, the song Ladies, that goes back to a portion in Shamika where they kind of connect in this weird way. And I was like, oh my God, like
Now to listen to Ladies.
yeah, it's I think the album is a masterpiece, and I think that everything that she does in that album is intentional and with purpose. And I think it's an album that deals with the whole idea of societal pressure. I think it's an album that deals with the whole idea of bullying. I think it's an album that deals with the whole idea of sexual assault in a perfect way. Not in, I don't know how to phrase this, not in a perfect way, but in a way that is real and
Very smart.
yeah, it's smart. It expresses the frustrations of people not believing people in a way that can make a lot of people empathetic if you're not, kind of thing. And I think it's a perfect album. So yeah, listen to Fetch the Bolt Cutters.
Yeah, definitely listen to Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Fiona Apple, I think it's her best album, honestly.
Yeah,
It's her most like, because I'm happy she's getting the attention she's getting at this point, honestly, too, because she's one of kind of indie rock's most kind of bold and unique voices, I think, in the last the last 2 decades. She's so special, and like this is her first album I've listened to like all the way through. I've never listened to her album like song for song for song, so I'm definitely gonna go back and listen to it like all of them now. But yeah, listen to Fetch the Bolt Cutters, everyone.
Is it wrong to compare Fiona Apple, at least in this album, to Nico Case? Because I'm pretty sure Fiona Apple probably inspired Nico Case.
Who's Nico?
Similar
Case?
vibes.
Yeah.
Nico Case. Oh crap. She is like, she's described as indie country. I don't know if I like that because she's more like indie rock, which has a country style voice. She does really great, like similarly like bold and like, you know, not in your face, but you know, like unapologetic music that's very like lyrical, very poetic. She has some incredible songs, some incredible albums. I really like her first album, Blacklisted. And then she has an incredible song called Star Witness. She has a powerful voice, but I got similar vibes from Fiona Apple, but it's more likely that she inspired Nico Case than anything, because Nico Case came on the scene in the early 2000s. So
yeah, I think Fetch the Bolt Cutters is such like a different album than other Fiona Apple albums, mostly because of most of her bandmates left her after her last album. And there's a song on the album called Drum Set that the drum set, I forget what it's called exactly, but it deals with that whole idea of her band leaving her because she was dealing with addiction problems and things like that. And I think because of those limited restrictions and her not having a full band, it led to this very experimental side that led to like a lot of innovation. Like there's a lot of like claps and like just like banging of pencils or pens or like feet stomps, and it's like very ritualistic, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of songs on the album that feel like ritualistic. I don't know how to explain it.
There's a lot of like repeated choruses and like and lines. Like I always think about Under the Table, where she has the repeated line of, I'm probably gonna mess this up, but she's like I would beg to differ, but begging doesn't suit me.
Yeah.
Like that line always hits me, and she repeats it so many times throughout the song, you know?
Yeah, and there's also the song Relay where she talks about, she's like,
Really so good.
She talks about how like evil is a relay race, and it's this like this whole theme of like, if you are like mean to somebody, or if you bully somebody, or if you are hateful towards somebody, that hate kind of enters their body and it goes towards somebody else. And it's this
cycle.
It's this very poetic and like kind of like metaphorical way to like describe hate. And I think it's very beautiful. And I think like Fiona Apple has always been known for her imagery and her metaphors. And like, I think Fetch the Bolt Cutters is her at her best because a lot of her metaphors are so just intrinsically perfect, if you know what I mean. Like it's all the metaphors that she's using is what we need at this current time. Like the main track, Fetch the Bolt Cutters, is like the perfect COVID-19 track. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been here for too long, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, I think the album's perfect, so everybody should listen to it.
The only thing I want to recommend is a film that I saw at Sundance. I saw a lot of it at Sundance, not all of it. It's on Netflix now. It's called Crip Camp. It's a documentary about it's a camp for disabled kids during Woodstock in that time period. It's a really good documentary made by really nice filmmakers. I'm sorry. Yeah, so see Crip Camp.
The only thing I can recommend is Ice Guardians that I watched last week. It's on Netflix. It's really good. Highly recommend it.
Okay, anything else, boys?
Thumbs up.
No, I'm excited to hear what Adam wants to suggest, though. I'm very
Yes.
Please.
Okay, so
You need a drum roll?
yes.
All right.
Okay, so I had a list of stuff to go through. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to recommend. I have several things all lined up for the next time I recommend something. But my recommendation for this week is the 1982 film Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Hey, did it!
Where can we watch it, Adam?
I have it, and we'll watch it. We'll screen share on Zoom and watch it that way.
Okay.
If you want, I could find a way that we can watch it on our own so that it won't look weird on Zoom. Don't tell anyone, though.
But it's basically the entire projected into art, the entire 1979 album, The Wall, which is 2 CDs, I think it's 26 tracks. And it's kind of Roger Waters' masterwork of reflecting on his life and the struggles he had as a kid without his dad, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of backstory to it. But even without that, it took me years to watch it, and I finally watched it, I think, last fall. Even without that backstory, it's such a powerful movie, just the imagery and everything, and how it just kind of devolves into insanity in the last like half hour. It's one that I'll always go back to. Like, I'll get one of the songs stuck in my head and go watch like that section of the movie on YouTube or something like that.
Or, and Adam, just like spitball here, we could watch Doug Walker's The Wall.
No, God, no.
How about this? We'll watch Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Every song.
At the beginning of the show, we will talk about Doug Walker's The Wall. Is that okay? Is that okay if you guys want?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here's my thing, though. I spent too much of my life watching Doug Walker. I'm done with him. All right.
Well, why'd you watch him for so long then?
Because I was 12.
Yeah.
And I thought Nostalgia Critic was really cool, and it ruined my perception of film, and I hate it. Like, him and YMS ruined my film appreciation for a decade. Okay, I'm over it.
I never watched the Nostalgia Critic.
You're not missing a lot.
I just saw part of The Wall that he did just to see how bad it was. I've stuck with like Red Letter Media, The Cinema Snob, and Ralph the Movie Maker, and occasionally YMS, depending on what the video is. That's what I stick with.
I like YMS when he's talking positively about films, but I can't stand him when he's talking negatively about movies.
Because like all of his negative things are such small nitpicks that it's annoying.
What was the review where he there was some review where he interviewed a scientist to figure out the exact way something would freeze or a temperature. And I was like, shut up.
Yeah, he can be very pretentious at times, but I think he's very insightful when he wants to be insightful.
Like, he has great taste. He's never recommended a bad movie.
Yeah.
Any movie you watch from his top 10 list are great. I love it.
Yeah. His series on Synecdoche, New York is actually great, and everybody.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But then he gets a movie he doesn't like, and he's just you're just shut up, stop. Yeah. Doesn't need to be fucking 2 hours long. Sorry, freaking 2 hours long.
On a side note, we will, or at least Landon and I will be watching Senna this week as part of our documentary Capstone class.
You got it? You got him to watch it?
Yeah, if I can have everyone in that class who might not otherwise watch any racing movies ever watch one, then I feel like I've done my job.
As someone who doesn't care about racing, I love Senna.
Senna is great. I'm looking forward to rewatching it. But yeah, The Wall. I guess you guys want to do it on Friday again?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited. I can't
All right,
wait.
so we're gonna be watching Pink Floyd's The Wall. If you guys want to watch along with us,
Doug Walker's The Wall.
watching the Nostalgia Critics The Wall.
Yes.
You guys want to talk about that as well?
Did you
So
see Anthony Fantana's review of it? It's really
yeah, I
good.
have.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's really good.
Wall, my second favorite movie, 1982. Unfortunately, it is not number one because The Thing also came out that year.
That's true.
Oh,
First Blood came out that year.
All right, so yeah, like Landon said, we're watching Pink Floyd's The Wall. Anything else, guys? Want to say before we head out?
I don't think so.
that's
Oh.
all.
Everyone
I think
spoke
we're good.
once. Okay.
It's almost midnight, so or 11, almost 11:30. So
All right.
right.
Yeah. So from Cinemania, have a great week. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. It's great hanging out with you.
WBCW.
Yeah.
We'll be syncing. We'll be simulcasting on there at some point.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So have a great week, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Cinemania. I'm Brandon Shillingford.
I'm Landon Roberts.
I'm Adam Cheek.
And I'm Sam Goodrich.
All right. Have a great week, everyone. Watch Cars 1, 2, and 3 too. We'll be talking about that as well. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.